Been working to get more information on breaking news tonight concerning former Chicago gang leader Larry Hoover. President Trump commuted his sentence earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, this really came as quite a surprise today and raises a lot of questions, including why now and also what comes next for Hoover. Our investigative reporter Chuck Gowdy is here taking a much closer look at this. Chuck?
Steph and Allison, President Trump tonight cutting loose Larry Hoover from multiple life sentences. Federal law enforcement officials say Hoover was and is atop the notorious gangster disciples, calling the shots, literally. In the 80s and 90s, his gang earning more than $100 million a year from cocaine and heroin, much of the profit, they said, straight into Hoover family members' pockets. Tonight, Hoover and his family celebrating a victory that once seemed impossible.
It's very important for me to get Hoover out because in an alternate universe, I am him.
Celebrity lobbyist Kanye West in the Oval Office urging President Trump to grant the Chicago gang bosses freedom. This meeting during the president's first term, an indicator of just how long this free Hoover effort has been underway. Tonight, 7 years later, comes commutation from the president. The former gangster disciple leader known as King Larry will be released from the Supermax prison here in Colorado, home of the nation's most dangerous criminals, where Hoover has been serving multiple life sentences for operating a drug gang enterprise that enforced deals and rules at the barrel of a gun. I spoke about the commutation with former Assistant U.S. Attorney Ron Safer, who was lead federal prosecutor on the Chicago case against Larry Hoover.
All he had to do was order a shooting, and it was done. Order a beating, and it was done. Order a drug area to be controlled or attacked, and it was done.
So as the man who led the federal prosecution of somebody who had that kind of power, how could any amount of time locked up be enough?
It's difficult, Chuck, to say that there's any amount of time to this crime. This man was the undisputed leader of the largest monolithic gang that this nation has ever known. The gang had at its peak 30,000 members in 28 states.
And so tonight, Larry Hoover's supporters wait to see the reverse of this video. The last time Hoover was incarcerated in Illinois nearly 3 decades ago, being turned over to federal authorities. When Hoover is turned back to state authorities here, he will also go back into state prison, where he is to resume a 200-year sentence for murdering a gang rival in 1973. That, however, is a case in which he's eligible for parole, so it may just be a matter of time before Larry Hoover is indeed back on the streets that no one expected him ever to walk again. How quickly that happens depends on how fast the 74-year-old Hoover can get a parole hearing on his state of Illinois convictions and whether Governor Pritzker might serve up a commutation as President Trump did today. No, the governor's office has not responded to NBC Chicago regarding that.
Do you want
KBHK TV 44 San Francisco.
From the terrifying universe of the inner mind to the outer reaches of the imagination, we're waiting, poised at the edge of our seats. Time stops as we approach the unknown. Just when we think we're safe, the moment happens. And we...
Saturday night, time for Gas Theater. Join me, Tom Labrie, for the best in late night fright.
Horror, suspense, mystery, science fiction, the supernatural. And now, sit back, relax if you can. You are about to enter the world of...
NPC the game.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday, Saturday night for my friends in the wilderness, North America. Yeah, NPC the game live. I'm your host, Gabriel, streaming from the back rooms of Taiwan, the Real District 13, Shaolin. What's going on, Shadow Buddha, my brother from another? Oh yeah. Let's see, Vengeful Truth, there was like, he said, I don't know much about that dude, Larry Hoover, other than hearing his name in Rick Rock's songs. Larry Hoover. How's it going, Lady Luck? Good to have you, Sergeant at Arms. How's it going to my friend Markella? Shout out to Markella and Wheels and Lady Luck and Clue. We had a great stream. They had the Panelverse character Pink Bo Birdo. That was wild. So check out that stream. I'll put it in the chat. What's going on, Hank? Shout out to Pittsburgh, Uncle Hank. Yeah. Lindsay, good to see you. 2 days in a row. This is a special day. Good to see you. Yeah. 16, Saturday night, Pacific time, prime time. I was in Long Beach right now when I went to college. I'd be cruising down PCH with the top down. Yeah. So today's broadcast is freed Larry Hoover, who's a Sagittarius sun. Critical thinking and the philosophies of the Gangster's disciples. Who was Larry Hoover? Well, my cosmic thinkers and Panelverse visionaries. Larry Hoover was a gang leader that put down the blueprint for what he thought was growth and development. He became, as of now, from what I've seen, a self-actualized Sagittarius. He seemed to have transformed into a righteous community leader, although he probably didn't start off like that. And today we're going to talk about how critical thinking played a part of that. We're going to dive deep into that. Today's going to be, it's all about mind over mayhem, about turning chaos into clarity. So let's get to it. I have to say, I want to start with critical thinking. I like that one. That's something that I discovered in that stuck to me when I was in my second year of college, and I heard in my English 100 class, and my English 101, and the professor was like, okay, we're going to study critical thinking and how it relates to literature. And then I got to thinking, man, because forget about clout, forget about going viral. Critical thinking is the real superpower in a world that wants you to be distracted, huh? It wants you to be distracted and emotional 24/7, right? And thinking critical to me means you question and not just react. You seek truth and not just echo noise, right? You start to understand why you believe what you believe. And there's a difference of being a pawn and a player, between someone who's controlled and someone who's conscious. That's critical thinking. One who uses critical thinking. And when you look at people who elevated from chaos to clarity, Larry Hoover starts to stand out. And he was just in the beginning of the broadcast. We were playing that he was pardoned by President Donald J. Trump, right? Under the First Step Act, which was a criminal justice reform passed that Kanye West and Kim Kardashian lobbied for with Mr. Trump's during his first term, in an aim to expand early release programs for those who committed nonviolent crimes and drug offenses. Which is weird though, because I think Larry Hoover was actually in jail for murder, among some drug offenses too, right? And what's up, Philip? Good to see you. And yes, Larry Hoover was a Sagittarius. So let's look at the fact that Larry Hoover was a Sagittarius sun sign. Those are people who their birthday is mostly in the month of December, and you can see it when you look at his growth path, right? And some of these documentaries I watched and whatnot. What's up, Wheels? Night, very, very good stream. Well done. You got Pink Birdo up there. I saw that. Can you put Wheels' channel up there so we can get people to sub up? It's a great day, huh, Philip? Yeah, Wheels, well done, man. I'm proud of you, sis. You had the auctioneer Pink Birdo up there. That's crazy. You had fun. I was listening to it. It sounded like fun. Pretty wild. So, like Larry Hoover, Hank O'Flamo says, I'm also Sagittarius as sun. I don't think self-actualization is possible, but you can always get more powerful. Good enough is better than perfect because you can get to the good enough, right? Yeah, that's probably what I'm pointing at. You're right. No one's completely self-actualized or leveled up completely. You can only point at it. The great Joe Montana, the quarterback from San Francisco 49ers, where I grew up, he would say he would shoot for a perfect practice where no balls were dropped and everything was completed, and he moved the offense to score a touchdown. And he said he never achieved that goal of a perfect practice. However, he got pretty close. And because he got pretty close, when he transferred over to playing game time on Sunday, it was almost a perfect game. He basically was 93% perfect, which was why he's probably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Yeah. Shout out to Tommy Brady over there in San Mateo and his parents. So yeah, when I look at the Sagittarius sun sign, it's a fire sign ruled by Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, expansion, and spiritual knowledge. Anything you put Jupiter, whenever you see that, just remember it expands. It expands. And the Sagittarius energy is all about truth seeking and personal evolution and breaking boundaries and teaching others the lessons you learned. And then enters Larry Hoover, the founder of the Gangster Disciples in Chicago. Once he was known for controlling the streets. But now he's become a man who promotes mental evolution and community structure and the legendary 5 Ps, as he says, that we'll go into. In the shift mirrors the journey of a self-developed Sagittarius from wild freedom, the Sag, right? And raw fire to visionary mastery and leadership, right? Mike said, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, work hallelujah. Yeah, you see, everybody knows about that, right? Yeah. Pink Birdo's unhinged. Yeah, he needs another 5150. So yeah, so check out, this is Wheels' channel. You can see that Pink Birdo encounter in our last stream that just ended. Mike knows what's up with Larry Hoover. Let's get a little taste about Larry Hoover. Let's see what's really going on.
In 1973, according to court documents, Hoover allegedly orders the execution of William Pookie Young for robbing one of his narcotics houses. Hoover is arrested and charged with murder, and although he never pulled the trigger, Hoover is found guilty and sentenced to 150 to 200 years, 23 years old, in Statesville maximum security.
In prison, he is still viewed by police as the leader of the state's largest and most dangerous street gang. Joni Lum is here with the latest on.
That's why they threw him under the jail, because they thought he was still controlling the gangs, the GD's Gangster Disciples, while he was in prison.
Today's raid, Joni.
Sonia and Dave, authorities believe Larry Hoover is running an enormous gang operation from inside the Dixon Correctional Center where he is housed. Chicago, Illinois, and IRS agents carried out a federal warrant at the offices of Save the Children Promotions, looking for evidence of income tax evasion and money laundering. The 44-year-old acknowledged leader of the Black Gangster Disciples has been in prison since 1973 for a drug-related murder. At several parole hearings, he's claimed he's a changed man who is no longer violent. Today, police spent about 2 hours combing through the records of Save the Children on the South Side. They seized half a dozen cardboard boxes and file cabinets of financial records and also $7,000 in cash.
It can have two effects. It can harden you, or it can make you think. And
in 1969, we combined forces and we established 2 kings and 2 princes. I was very instrumental in the disciples and the gangsters coming together. When I went to jail in 1968 for failure to register a gun and unlawful use of a weapon, I met David Boxdale while I was in the House of Correction. We was at odds when we first met. After a while, he began to love me and I began to love him as my brother. When I came out of jail in '69, Hoover was the ambassador of the Stones. We had a nation meeting of the gangsters, and I said I wasn't going to be no Stone. That night, Hoover called Jeff Ford and told him that...
Hey, we're going to do it like this. We're going to do this one. We're going to do it like this before we're famous. This is a good testimony right here. Let's do it like this.
Larry Hoover has been incarcerated since 1973. At this rate, it's highly unlikely that he'll ever see the outside world again.
Wrong. He just got out this week. Yeah.
This former leader of Chicago's Gangster Disciples is currently serving multiple life sentences at the prison known as ADX Florence, which has a reputation for being one of the most psychologically punishing correctional facilities in the entire world. After being charged with murder in the 1970s, Larry would later be convicted of running the Gangster Disciples from inside his prison cell. That was in 1997, and every single day since then, Larry has been forced to spend 23 hours in solitary confinement. His case is widely regarded as hopeless because in order to be released, he would need to obtain pardons at both the state and federal levels. Well, in order to accomplish just that, hip-hop superstars Drake and Kanye West recently set aside their widely publicized differences to throw a benefit concert in Larry's name and raise awareness over his plight. So how exactly did Larry Hoover's reputation grow even larger from behind bars? And just why have Kanye and Drake teamed up to see him released? Those answers and more in our latest episode.
Yeah, you would hope there's something because he was doing something righteous while he was in jail.
Episode of Before They Were Famous. Larry Hoover was born on November 30th, 1950 in the city of
There you go. Sagittarius, right? Born in Jacksonville, Mississippi.
Mississippi. At the age of 4 years old, Larry's parents moved his family to Chicago, Illinois, and from that point forth, Larry and his new hometown would become inseparable. At the age of just 13, Larry hit the Chi-Town streets with a bunch of like-minded youths who took to calling themselves the Supreme Gangsters. Together, this group would take part in petty crimes such as theft and muggings, but soon enough, Larry's criminal activity would graduate to shootings and assaults. A high school dropout, over the course of his teenage years, Larry would ascend to leadership roles in the Supreme Gangsters before joining forces with David Barksdale to form the Black Gangster Disciple Nation.
Yeah, they were rivals, David Barksdale and Larry Hoover, and they came together.
After Barksdale was injured during a shooting that took place in 1969, Larry would assume the leadership role of the Gangster Disciples. From that point on, his gang ran the south side of Chicago's drug trade.
Barksdale ended up dying of kidney failure in his mid-20s, which is very young,
making more than $1,000 a day in profits by selling large quantities of cocaine, heroin, and other drugs. By the time that he had entered his early 20s, Larry had been in and out of prison a number of times. He had also survived at least 6 separate attempts on his life. I mean, basically, Larry was the personification of a made man. And then everything changed. On February 26, 1973, Larry and fellow Disciple member Andrew Howard were arrested for the murder of 19-year-old rival drug dealer William Young. Shortly thereafter, the two men were then each sentenced to 200 years in prison. I swear.
Damn, 200 years, bro. They're worried about them.
Swear to God, I'm not making this up.
Hoover is arrested and charged with murder. And although he never pulled the trigger, Hoover is found guilty and sentenced to 150 to 200 years. 23 years old in Statesville maximum security, with 2 football fields facing him for numbers, Hoover still continues to grow.
Perhaps most amazingly of all, however, is the belief held by federal prosecutors that even after his incarceration, Hoover would continue to run the Gangster Disciples from his prison cell and oversee a business that could bring in as much as $100 million over the course of...
That's a prison photo. You got the wicker chair. How many of y'all have that chair in your house? Put a 1 in the chat if you had that wicker queen, king, monarch chair in your house like that. Yeah, I remember my aunt had a couple of those.
Of a single year. Yeah, we thought Gucci Mane was crazy for being able to release all those mixtapes while he was still in prison. Yeah, Larry Hoover was on some different energy. But here's where the disconnect comes in, because both the federal authorities and the everyday citizen on the Chicago street seem to have completely conflicting ideas of just who exactly Larry Hoover really is. To the government, he's a cold-hearted leader of a ruthless gang whose orders to injure, maim, and sometimes even kill are carried out with ruthless aggression.
Larry.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about that for a second. Well, so as Larry Hoover as a Sagittarius archetype, I would say, and put aside his astro profile away for a second, and he was a street level. We'll say the old Larry Hoover was a street level, right? He was survival based. He was reactive in order to get his power or hold on to power. He was leading the gang most likely through fear and structure. And he, one could say he probably he strategized with the Scorpio style intensity in order to keep his territory and keep growing the gang. Probably was purpose driven and community focused, right? In terms of his community tie was the gang, right?
Hoover was the undisputed leader of the largest monolithic gang in the nation.
But to the people on the streets of Chicago, Larry Hoover has become something of a mystic figure over the course of the kill are carried out with ruthless aggression.
Larry Hoover was the undisputed leader of the largest monolithic gang in the nation.
But to the people...
How's it going, Lizard Tree? Good to see you.
On the streets of Chicago, Larry Hoover has become something of a mystic figure over the course of his incarceration. A mix of...
Hank say he's wearing a Star of David. Yes, because this is one of their symbols for the Black Gangster Disciple is the Star of David, which is the under the 1, 2, 3, the 6-pointed star. Yeah, that's their symbol. A lot of their symbols are occult. And they even have something called the lit, where it's their bylaws that they had to memorize and recite. They also had the hand gestures and whatnot. I found some people doing it. It's funny that I don't think these boys are in the GDs, but this is some of their hand signals like this.
Just like a goofy, shoot her out just like a movie. He ain't my bitch, I'm a hoopy. We the ops nigga and you was a goofy. Run out of luck, I they call me a stupid. Need a victim, she got niggas brutal. Claudio blocking the up on these slipping, I'm shooting like Pippin, bro, calling me Scotty. I'm gone off the platter, I'm gone off the molly. You run up on Django and then you a body. Put in a hop on the shirt, you off and we splatting them first. How you gonna like me first?
That's so much influence this gang life has on people, man. People that normally wouldn't be even being around that stuff are mesmerized by it. It's wild. Let's go back to this before they were famous.
Hood with Al Capone. Today, thousands of young kids on the Chi-Town streets look up to this man who was already behind bars long before they were anything but a twinkle in the eye of their parents. According to Hoover's lawyer, the decades that Larry has spent locked away has changed who he is as a person. I mean, after all, when Larry first went back to prison in the 70s, Richard Nixon was still president. And since then, Larry has come to realize that the violence on the streets of Chicago has become untenable. His lawyer told the New York Times, he saw the death, the destruction, the prisons filling up with the young people. He wanted to move the Gangster disciples into something constructive, into growth and development. So from behind his prison walls, Larry was said
growth and development, man. Growth and development. And that definitely goes in with the Sagittarius archetype of a transformed Hoover, we'll say. Before he was the street level Hoover. Now he's becoming, in prison, he's becoming the transformed Hoover. And this is the Sagittarius style I can see in that, in terms of like purpose-driven Sagittarius, community-focused, and also seeking redemption through structure and education, trying to, in order, trying to refine himself and teaching others how to think critically and not just follow, right? Because Sagittarius isn't just wild, they're wise too. They're definitely wise. And when they evolve, they become mentors and visionaries and truth tellers, we could say. And that's exactly the lane I see Hoover stepped into with the GDs, with the growth and development rebrand. Get it? GD, Gangster's Disciple. And it became growth and development, right? He's evolving. He's evolving.
to have organized the creation of a political organization called 21 Street Century Vote, which registered hundreds of young people on the streets of Chicago to vote, as well as Save the Children, a charitable organization that held rallies in support of education reform, as well as health clinics in Chicago's poorest neighborhoods.
Well, I've been working over the past 2 years to try to redirect the energies of my immediate organization. I was one of the principal components in forging the United Peace Organization, designed to stop kids from killing each other. I know what they're doing. I see the mistakes. I've made the mistakes. Stop kids and forging the United Peace Organization.
See, that's some of their symbols. The 6-pointed star, the hand gesture.
Designed to stop kids from killing each other. I know what they're doing. I see the mistakes. I've made the mistakes. I'm in position to maybe correct them before they make the same mistakes I made.
Maybe that's why he was thrown under the jail, because the quote unquote powers that be didn't like him switch it up like that. Because maybe there's a lot of money and a power to be held if inner city youth are killing each other and doing that gang, distracted themselves with the gang lifestyle.
The group is also said to have taken an active interest in neighborhood cleanup and food distribution, programs which led Hoover's prosecutor to admit that the Gangster disciples had done some good stuff, even going so far to say during the court proceedings, this is not a group of street thugs. This is in a very real sense an outlaw form of government. But as the Gangster disciples were actively...
See, yeah, you know what I mean? That's a tree gets it. I like how he used the time to transform and do something great. This is like, last year we had the Year of the Dragon, and I bet you had some transforming going on too. Year of the Snake, as we speak, think of a snake. Larry Hoover, with that metaphor, he shed his old ways of being the street level Hoover and became more of a community leader, Hoover. I like how he used his time to transform to something great. Yeah, I like that too. I think this is why I wanted to talk about it. He was just pardoned by President Trump a couple of days ago.
moving towards growth and development in the mid-90s, the U.S. government intensified their investigation of Hoover and his operations even further.
Today, police spent about 2 hours combing through the records of Save the Children on the South Side. They seized half a dozen cardboard boxes and file cabinets of financial records and also $7,000 in cash. Police say the charity organization has legitimate operations, but they also believe it is a front for an effort to get Hoover out of jail.
In 1997, Hoover was investigated on federal drug conspiracy and extortion charges while continuing to engage in criminal enterprises from prison. Momentarily reflecting on the good that Hoover had done for his community, the prosecution said they registered voters, which is a wonderful thing. The problem is, it was funded by drug money and supported by gang muscle.
I guess it would be kind of hard to separate it right away. So it makes sense how things would trickle over.
In order to indict Hoover on all of these charges, the feds would wire up his associates who would visit him in prison so as to record their conversations. Out of the 65 hours of conversations recorded, only 4 hours would be used against Hoover in his 1997 trial, but it was enough to convict him. On those tapes, he would discuss taxing anybody who sells drugs in the Gangster Disciples territory, as well as having his...
Come on, bro. So when his friends came to visit him and said, like, I'll tax anyone that sells drugs, it's kind of like a deterrent, I guess. And hopefully maybe he was if he did get that tax money from the drug dealers on his turf, he would use it to pump it back into some righteous stuff. But who knows?
Members devote 1 day a week to selling drugs strictly for Hoover's own profits, which could bring the kingpin an estimated total of around $300,000 a week. The end result of this investigation was that Hoover was given a further 6 life sentences on top of his already 200-year sentence.
Damn! 6 life sentences? And he already had 200-something years?
In order to spend 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. Since this indictment in the
solitary confinement for 23 hours a day, that's torture.
Late 90s, Larry has unsuccessfully filed for an appeal to be freed, or at the very least transferred to a lower security prison under the First Step Act, which is a way for prisoners to challenge extremely long sentences for federal drug offenses. His appeal was rejected outright, and the judge would refer to Hoover as one of the most notorious criminals in Illinois history during his 19-page rebuttal. Meanwhile, Chicago native Kanye West has made it his personal project over the past few years to try and get more exposure to Hoover's plight. During Kanye's visit to the Trump White House a few years ago, he brought Hoover up to the president and asked him for presidential pardon.
So it's very important for me to get Hoover out because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free because he was doing positive inside of Chicago, just like how I moved back to Chicago, and it's not just about.
After Trump.
Well, you say he's doing positive things, Kanye was saying, huh? And one of the positive things that Hoover was doing was he was doing what he called the 5 Ps, right? And it lines up with Sagittarius wisdom, the 5 Ps. So I'll break it down. Like, you know, the 5 Ps were 1, proper; 2, preparation; 3, prevent; 4, pour; 5, performance. And that's not just street smarts. That's ancient wisdom right there in disguise, man. And it hits Sagittarius energy like this because the proper is Sagittarius seeks the higher road, integrity, moral justice, what they believe, right? When they speak, I have Sagittarius and Mercury, so if I'm not speaking on things I don't believe, it's kind of, they don't sound congruent. Presentation, man, that's a Sag trait, absolutely, because the Sagittarius knows life is a journey, and you don't run blindly on that journey. You have to study the terrain, right, before you go out there. And then and prevents, that's a Sag mindset too, because the Sagittarius mind avoids failure by seeing the bigger picture, you know, zooming out. This is why we like philosophy and whatnot, the bigger picture, what's really going on. And last, the poor is because Sagittarius hates low vibration living. Mediocrity feels like death to us Sagittarius, is people who have Sag in a prominent place. And performance, the final act, the Sagittarius wants to know not only wants to do well. They want to inspire others through how they show up, right? So these 5 P's, that's more than a street code. That's a spiritual principle. That's discipline mixed with destiny, I think, man. And that's really Sagittarius in action, you know?
Never pardon Larry, Kanye took a recording of Hoover's son, pleading with the powers that be to release his father, and incorporated it into his newest album, Donda, at the end of the track, Jesus Lord.
It was a good thing, and to hear the people kind of felt what I was saying, it made my father, they told me it made my father seem like a human being. Yeah. They only knew him as Larry Hoover, leader of the Gangster Disciples, rah, rah, rah. But they don't know him, and they don't know what he's about. What
he's about critical thinking, man. Lots of men and women, children tell people to run blind and pray. Disgusting, Hank says. Yeah, guys, we encourage donations, and we love donations. So feel free to leave a donation if you like. Want me to go in on some of your chart? You know, those are priorities with the donation. If not, do it. Let me know. I have some questions, regardless. And so, like I said, like Larry, like his son, Larry Jr. was saying that his father valued critical thinking and sharing that with other people, the youth, and letting them know that's important, because Larry Hoover basically was critical thinking meets street smarts, and I'll connect it right here. When Larry Hoover promoted critical structure, he wasn't just organizing, he was teaching people how to think, how to prepare, and how to move like generals, not goons. And that's the Sagittarius way, not just speaking truth, but living it, and not just chasing freedom, but earning it through discipline, right? Yeah. And thank you, Hank, man. You're very generous. Appreciate you, Hank. Very kind of you, man. Didn't have to do that. Yeah, Hank. Thanks a lot.
Thank you all. Your love has broken the curse and freed my soul. I'll never have to kill again. Really?
Yeah, we'll still kill metaphorically. Thanks, Markella, for thanking Hank. Thanks a lot. Y'all too kind. And so yeah, Larry Hoover was teaching critical thinking, which is very important.
What he's about, and they only knew him as Larry Hoover, leader of the Gangster Disciples, rah, rah, rah. But they don't know him, and they don't know what he's about.
They don't know what he's about, critical thinking. And yeah, you also too hit up the, not Hank's good. He's straight, but NPC buy me coffee links right here. That's great because it's only like a 5% tax it takes rather than YouTube's 30. So I appreciate you all. Thank you, Markella, for that.
What he's about, and that's why I'm trying to make an effort to, show who he is as a person.
Most recently, Kanye teamed up with fellow hip-hop superstar Drake, burying their beef with one another to put together an all-star-like benefit show to raise awareness for Larry Hoover's struggles. Over 70,000 people filed into the LA Memorial Coliseum to take part in the free Larry Hoover benefit show, which costed a reported $10 million and was even sponsored by Amazon. Imagine that. 2021, we got Drake and Kanye all on the same stage, sponsored by Jeff Bezos. I don't know. If you told me this in 2017, I don't know if I'd believe you. Up on stage, Kanye and Drake danced, rapped, and hugged it out on top of a giant mound in the middle of what's usually a football field. The only thing they didn't spend much time on was the idea of freeing Larry Hoover.
After all that, man.
What the entire night was supposed to be about. Once the show got started, there was hardly
I was going to say, after all that, they didn't even talk about Larry Hoover. Ain't that a bitch?
Mention of his name. But hey, at the very least, Kanye has reportedly hired the lawyer who had just helped free Bill Cosby to represent Larry Hoover next.
And she is so funny. She came by the studio and she wanted to take a picture with her friend. And I told her, don't take any pictures. She's like, oh, she ain't got nothing phone. I was like, let me see her phone. And she stood up, she started screaming at me. She said, I don't even gotta be at the studio. I do stuff that's important. I say, I do stuff that matters. She started screaming on me in the studio. I was like, I like her.
So maybe, and just maybe, Larry Hoover's story is not over yet, and before long, we might be talking about he's finally a free man. Although I would not hold your breath, of course, that remains to be seen because this is before they were famous. And before we wrap things up here, I just wanted to shout out another one of our channels called Famous Life. We do a
Yeah, so Larry Hoover is out. He is out. He's out on bail, huh? He's home as we speak.
We begin with breaking news. President Donald Trump has commuted the federal sentence of Larry Hoover, founder of the Chicago street gang, the Gangster Disciples. Hoover has been serving multiple life sentences and in a maximum security prison in Colorado for the murder of a 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer. He is also serving a 200-year sentence in Illinois, but it's not clear if he'll be moved back to Illinois to reserve what remains of that sentence. Hoover's son, Larry Hoover Jr., posted this photo on Instagram, a White House official holding the commutation with the president's signature. Much more on this breaking news story coming up at 5 and 6 o'clock.
Yeah, so he's out. He's ready. Or I think he is. I don't know if he's gonna have to do the state time. Federally, he's out. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing. But I think he's just an example of there's many examples out there, but he's a current example because what we like to do here on the NPC The Game Live is like want to show Benjamin and his friends and everyone else listening that you can take some lessons out from current events, but you can see how it can relate to your life, right? So those of us with the Sagittarius vibe, and in our chart, or even just anyone in general that's wanting to be their best version of themselves. The higher self, I think, is the real power, but we call that God too. But it can be reflected in what we think is as a human as your higher self. And tonight, I think the message is kind of segueing from this whole week's message with the Mars episodes we had. Don't just react, reflect on things, and don't just move with meaning. Yeah, have motion, have meaning in your motion, I like to say, because we're not just out here to perform. We're out here to prepare and to think and to evolve. And whether you're a Sagittarius, a Hoover type leader, or just someone trying to elevate and do better every day, you got to tap into critical thinking and vision in the 5 Ps. That's how you can break the cycle of depression and mediocrity. That's how you can become a force of wisdom in this world of noise that we're experiencing on the Panelverse and beyond the Panelverse. So Hank has a comment. He said he would have to do the state time unless the government pardons him too. Right. You're right. Absolutely right. So some of the hood stuff and with Larry Hoover was interesting. Learning about that, what he was doing when he was a gangster's disciple.
And drawing the attention of the police. The GDs enforce a variety of punishments for those who break the rules, from fines to beatings to death.
Larry Hoover. The membership in today's day and age, they don't even know who he is. They don't even know what he looks like.
They dominated the drug trade in cities across the Midwest.
It's like cancer, it spreads. You got gangster disciples on every street corner.
I was gonna say, like drop your sun sign in the chat, and ask yourself: do you resonate with that Sagittarius energy? Do you use those 5 P's we're talking about? Performance preparation in your everyday life. You know, are you a prepper? And how has like critical thinking saved you all from crashing out before? Yeah. Yeah, so think about that. Like, like I said, you can hit the dono. Like, if you're watching this on the rerun, you can hit a comment, and let's keep building. And this ain't just content; it's consciousness, right? Awareness as awareness. Right? That's what we're doing, man. I'm trying to, because a lot of this, I mean, we hear a lot of talk about IQ and whatnot. It's not all about IQ. And this is what we're doing here. This is about being able to see through the BS and stay calm during the chaos and navigate emotions without being owned by it. That's why we talk about these characters like Hoover, Thorpe, Grace, Hormaxer, Imperious, all these people, man. These people are like archetypes. You have the old ones, like the narratives, the myths of like Osiris and Nut, the goddess of the sky, Aphrodite, Prometheus. But like, there's people in our own lives that resonate some of these characters, right? Shout out to the Vengeful Truther with the $5, very generous. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that.
I don't know whether to shake your hand or kiss it or bow or what. I feel like breakdancing.
Yeah, I feel like breakdancing, huh? Thanks for that, man. Yeah. I like that though, that 5 P's, how it leaks to the evolved Sagittarius energy, man. Like, that's funny, right? We like to laugh too or whatnot. That 5 P's, man. Like that background. Check that out. Yeah, thank you, man. So treats are very generous. Appreciate you. Yeah, but I like that 5 P's. That's something I'm keep thinking about when I was researching it. And I think the 5 P's that Larry Hoover started, that he went from the gangster's disciple to a positive when he changed to his gang to growth and development, helping the youth, right? He linked it to I linked that energy of the 5 P's and Sagittarius evolved as proper morals, having morals and ethic, and what's right for the long game, right? Not just the short game. Sagittarius, the long game. Sagittarius also represents like long distance travel. That's why the second one is the preparation. You just don't wing your evolution. You study it, right? So you can prevent. Sag is all about avoiding ignorance, because in this day, knowledge is ammo and armor, right? And the poor We hate poverty. We don't hate races of people or religion. We hate poverty. And Sagittarius despises small thinking. It wants freedom through evolution. And then the next thing that carries over to is performance. And Sag doesn't just know, it teaches, it shows, and we inspire. And definitely Larry Hoover, in his rebirth, became a Sag-like figure, and he turned survival into structure and rage into righteousness and chaos into a curriculum, you know? And I see it. Some type of foundation, man. These kids out here needed a foundation in Chicago. It's wild out here, man. So if anybody wants to come up for a second, let me know. Let me know what's really going on. What is really going on?
Not since the days of Capone has a Chicago gang ruled with such bloodlust.
They will assault you, beat you, shoot you, threaten your family, threaten your children.
The more fear, the more respect.
Oh, yes.
Torture, dismemberment, murder. It's strictly business for the GDs.
It's like that. It's real out here, man.
Their simple goal, more money and more power. Choose.
That's what it was. They were trying to grow money, and now Larry Hoover switched it up when he was in prison to, growing development using critical thinking. And the GDs were definitely more than just a gang in Chicago. It looked like they were like literally a urban movement. And when Larry Hoover and Barksdale started the GDs, they stood for literacy and discipline, because their members were expected to read and study and understand the history of the organization. That's what they called the lit. They had to know, they had to spit lit, as they say. They had to know the literature. Matter of fact, some folks I used to collab with in Chicago used their knowledge of the lit to come up with their own lit about self-consciousness development, right? I talk about it sometimes. I'll probably go over it more in depth, but the being literate and having discipline of always studying and knowing your history and what it means today was very important to the Gangster disciples, which normally you wouldn't think about that in a gang. This is why, even as a gang, it was an urban movement. This is why they threw Larry Hoover under the jail, even before when he was trying to be legit. So the growth and development was a long-term plan that centered around education and economics and community uplifting, right? Maybe that was his goal all along. Kind of like, we hear E40 say, sell the dope or whatever, and then use it to flip some businesses, buy a hair salon or a grocery store, so you can get out of that game. It's a temporary thing, doing that street life. And some of the symbolism that the GDs use, as we said, was the six-pointed star, Star of David, someone would say, because that star to them represented values like love, life, loyalty, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They got that from the Nation of Islam too. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding. Knowledge is data that when you marinate on it becomes wisdom, and when you take out what you don't need, you're left with understanding of what's really going on. In the structure, the GDs had ranks, rules, and leadership. It wasn't chaos. It was almost like a corporate structure too. It was organized ideologically in the mindset of of getting things done in the middle of systematic abandonment of like a crazy chaotic situations going on in Chicago. And I have to say, when you look at what they did, they built a code to survive that chaotic system of the urban life and the matrix, and they also dreamed of transcending it, right? It was all about being a man of knowledge in the hood and not just a killer with clout. And the shift, that's why the shift from gangster to growth, it wasn't random. It was a Sagittarius level evolution by conquering your environment through knowledge, you know? Right. And we'll top it off with with the critical thinking, because that was the new weapon. Because critical thinking is how the GDs tried to evolve. It's how Larry Hoover himself tried to shift a street code into a life code, and it's how we survive. You and me, you and I. It's how we survive mental warfare today, on panels and on timelines and discords and in real life, by using critical thinking. When someone like Imperius challenges someone's logic on a live stream, or when Grace Thorpe plays the game of attention and power, or when the Hormaxer sells pleasure as purpose, what they're doing is they're fighting for mind share. But who really wins? Is it to own your own mind? And that starts with the preparation of the 5 Ps. Transforming, normally you get raged out and don't want to quit, but if you can transform your rage into wisdom, I mean, you can handle anything, you know? And shout out to Max Extreme Hormaxer. I didn't see the notification for your show the other day. I would have popped in there. But yeah, Imperius is famous now for sure. We did a whole broadcast. The beginning of the broadcast was 2 days ago was about him. Or was it yesterday? So much has happened. Yeah. Check out the archives. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely a big thing. These characters that we're living with here on the Panelverse. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna stop being a character in someone else's drama and start being the author of my own mythical narrative, using my critical thinking to get me out of traps and stay sane. This is a serious show. You know what I mean? Because the man Larry Hoover went from so much chaos and destruction to wanting to change people's life and put them in a position of positivity, which I highly respect. Yes, we don't take away from the negative things. We don't forget those negative things that we did, so we can be humble. However, always strive to do better. You know? Yeah. Thanks, Lindsay. You're good at staying neutral. Yeah, for real. The middle path. Shadow Buddha knows what's up with that. Hank says, I'm bad at staying neutral, but I'm good at avoiding being targeted. Okay. Imperius had his first run with Officer Snaps on OTW today. I warned him that Snaps is low energy, but OT will stall with clips to protect him. Okay. I see. Good evening, NPC. Does Lindsay drain balls? Oh man, that's I'm sure she's had fun in the past, yeah. But she seems to be, she's a respectful woman from what I see, and But yeah, I mean, who doesn't like to do that, Max? Who doesn't like to have a life affirming experience, huh? Yeah. And that shit reminds me, man. Oh, there you go. You got Mar there for you, Max. He only wants women to fornicate. Yeah, fornicate. Yeah, there was a point where I thought life was about. And maybe it is on one level, huh? That's the closest you can get to know somebody is through sexual activity, fornication, as Max would say. There's no way of getting closer or intimate more than sex. No doubt. No doubt. Max, are you familiar with Larry Hoover, who just got acquitted? Well, he got pardoned, excuse me, by President Donald J. Trump. Right. He was the leader of one of the biggest gangs in American history, the Gangster Disciples. You need to run gear and get juicy pump. Yeah. I definitely go to, value going to the gym and prioritize that, right? Lifting heavy weights. Yeah. I know, like I hear some of my cohorts, they talk about using when they get to be in their late 30s or 40s that TRT, testosterone replacement. Yeah. But I think if I'm not correct, Max, once you start using testosterone, you pretty much got to take it for the rest of your life, right? I think so. Hey, Alex, hey, Hormax, or Max. What do you prefer to be called, Max? I assume now. Lindsay Smith says, "Are people who are sexual or have a sex life not respectable? Are people who are sexual or who have a sexual life? No, they're not. I mean, of course they're respectable. Yeah. No, I don't know what to say because usually, even though Max, that's a normal greeting. Who drains balls? What ladies are draining balls? Like it still caught me off guard. So I was referring to my NPC non-player character programming of what's the right thing to say, even though it's like, fuck yeah, you can be respectful to have sex. I'm a fucking Scorpio energy sun sign. We're all about sex. We dwell in the genitals. So hell yeah. Hell yeah. Hunk says fornication is not the closest to get to know somebody. I think it is. I mean, the fastest way to get to know somebody, the closest way. These Panelverse people know more about me than 90% of the women I fornicated with. You think so? No. Women sit on their brains, on their tuchuses, right? The Max's word. They say men have dick brains. They have poon brains. Okay. Max is typing a lot. Hey Max, come up. If you don't, if you feel moved to, you're more than welcome to come up and talk for a little bit. I'm only going to be on here for a little bit longer. I got some. My son wants me to Benjamin, who you gave great advice to. I have to say thank you for that the other day. He wants to play some Fortnite and then go play some basketball outside. So I'm gonna do that. But yeah, I'll be here. Oh, you're editing? Okay, cool. All right, cool, man. Yeah, I saw your live. Like I rewatched it on the replay. I didn't get the notification. I was like, fuck, man. Yeah, I wanted to at least let my presence be known in the chat. But I listened. You started off hot talking about these bitter. You said these bitter women, but you used other words, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was fun. That was fun. Yeah. Look at Markella. She wants to. Hey, Mar, you wanna talk to Max? Again, she's being a good mod, putting it out there. This is the Max Extreme Handshake. Me and Max and another. Yeah. So growth and development, always trying to get better and better, man. That's the word. That's what NPC the game, myself, Gabriel. That's what I'm about, all right? As well as having life affirming experiences for sure. Having nice orgasms. Those are great. Amazing. But Lindsay says the forever handshake. Yeah, man. They're like holding hands a little too long. I have to say, one of the things I learned when I was reading the Gangster Disciple Lit, their bylaws and rules is you're not really supposed to. First of all, you're not. It's hard to find because secrecy is one of their laws, right? But you're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be touching hands. Two men are supposed to be touching hands that long, more than 5 seconds. Yes, that's a law they have in their lit, unless it's an emergency. And this don't seem like it's an emergency. But I don't think those young men are GDs anyway. Lizard Chief said I checked out some of Hormaxter's streams and I like the ones where he interviewed the older man at his swinging house. Yeah, I saw that. That was good. Yeah. I think that's the one where Max said he's gonna go to the poolside. Take us poolside next time. Something like that. Don't a lot of Arab men hold hands? I think that's the thing. They do. They do other things too. I mean, we had the episodes live stream where I talked about how in Pakistan there is a culture, a subculture of people who and also Afghanistan right there like that take the young boys as, I mean, it looks like a mentor or something, but they're really using them for sexual purposes, which is horrible. Yeah. And these boys are getting like abused like fucking horribly. Yeah. Bad. But yeah, I guess some people hold hands there. Uh-huh. Cough. Yeah. Yeah, so I have to say, just if you have rage, turn it into something good, into structure, and keep trying to get better, man, because there's a lot of things to be distracted about, right? Mhm. Am I right? Yeah. So, what you guys have a great evening, good afternoon. I think I'm gonna take a day off tomorrow. So I'll get up and BS if you're just talking about whatever. Yes, yeah, let's go. Don't want someone to jabber with. Yeah, give me your thoughts, if you don't mind. Maybe for not, we can just chop it up for 15 minutes. Just real quick. It's all good. Give the men a look. Oh God. Yeah. Does everyone else want to come up here once you come up here? Yeah, so I think the main thing out of this was critical thinking, right? Bigger picture, Sagittarius. Those are the things. And when I think Joe Cool was saying, Joe Cool, who is from where we all know where Joe Cool's from. He's from
Coming straight from the wind, coming straight from the wind,
from the Windy City, right? Yeah. He wanted to know about do I have to know all this stuff about astrology? Like what? I don't get it. I think it's more of like maybe being more open minded, than being analytical, because there's a lot of people who are analytical, but they can put that to the side and try to get the, like Lindsay said. What's up, Lindsay? How's it going?
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you fine. I was just reviewing about like how Joe Cool was like, I don't get astrology. I'm so analytical, and I was thinking about, and I was like, and it was great what you said to him. You're like, look at the concrete, right? That's what I was trying to. And I think some of it too is just putting aside your biases or whatever for a second. It's kind of like how we watch a movie. We put aside our, like this is fake in order to enjoy it. Yeah.
That's
Same
how
thing
I
with-
look at people too. I mean, I think that you were giving people a kind of a obtuse, artistic, creative way to look at something that could be linear, and you could also give very creative and artistic people a way to look at things more rationally or in a more linear way, just to challenge perspectives. And I like to do that with people. I like that in terms of how you can argue on here or not with people, because they often want to argue. And I like that in terms of picking who you want to be around and how much you want to be around them. Because I constantly get people saying, oh, why are you friends with so-and-so? He's crazy, or he's a jerk, or this person's a jerk, or why do you like her? She's a hoe, or this or that. It's because people are a whole bunch of things. And a lot of them are extremely likable in many ways. And you can actually focus on the parts that you like. When you had Mel on the panel, there are parts of Mel that you like and respect, maybe parts that you're not so crazy about. Who's going to dictate to you who to like and who not to like? Maybe there's a certain something about Mel that you like, and you kind of throw the rest out, kind of like you decide what your beliefs are in life. You're going to cherry pick whether you like it or not. You're going to cherry pick from all the things that resonate with you. So I don't get this thing about why are you friends with so-and-so, or why do you have to argue in a certain way? And I'm still trying to figure out, I'm trying to tie this all together, but it's a big mess. Do I want to argue with people, or do I want to just stay silent? Do I want to be like NPC was with Mel, where people jumped all over you and attacked you?
Yeah.
And were pretty much unfriendly to you. You played some music. I watched to see what you did. You never sparked out. You never yelled. You got slightly defensive, but I was wondering if you were using your philosophies and your theories and how you feel about trying to stay neutral and choose your battles at that time.
Yeah, I think it goes with the philosophy for today, to bring it today, about one of the 5 P's that Larry Hoover pushed was preparation. And I part of my preparation for that conversation with Mel was to stay on target of trying to stick to the topic as much as possible, and not getting into like more like past things. I was trying to stay in the present as much as possible, even if I was pushed by others to do otherwise.
You could understand their point of view, though, right? You could understand
of course,
their perspective.
yes.
So
yeah, I mentioned it a
here.
little bit. I mentioned it in the beginning, but I didn't stress it. I said, like, I get it. People feel a certain way, and I even said I can understand that. However, this is how I feel. And I usually don't pull this card, but I'm going to remind you, this is my broadcast, and this is not a what you would call it, a democracy or whatever.
Free for all.
A free for all. Yeah, I'm going to do what I want to do in a sense. Yeah, and I want to hear what we have to say about this, but I totally understand why people did, and also too, part of me, Lindsay, likes, I guess, to kind of put my thumb in their eye or whatever, and be like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, how dare you try to tell me how to do this shit? Yeah.
I feel kind of like a brat. I don't know what exactly
that's
you were going. Yeah, kind of like a nice way to say F you.
Yeah.
I do that too. And you're talking about redirecting your anger. And I know there's lots of ways to handle it. But who says which way is right and which way is wrong? I don't know. Why isn't anger legitimate and can be handled in whatever way you need to handle it without necessarily hurting anybody? Like, why can't putting on a bikini say in a nice way, F you, I'm not going to do what you want to do. I'm not hurting anybody. You're not hurting anybody by having a show on Mel and saying F you, I'm going to focus on the present.
Yeah. Obviously, it is hurting them, though. Well, but that's the thing. It's like, why is it hurting them so bad?
Well, isn't that
what's
isn't
triggering
that
them?
their problem?
Yes, it is their problem. Yeah, and they want it. And they want it to be everyone's problem. Like, I'll bring it back to astrology. Under the Cancer meaning the Cancer, one of the modalities that sign does is they're very good at very lovable a lot of times, and it's contagious. Like when they feel loved, they make other people feel loved. Like I was lucky enough to have a Cancer mom, and she would love bomb me, right? However, there's the opposite of that too. When the Cancer feels angry or depressed or just raged out, and if you're not, especially if they feel like you're not acknowledging their hurt, they want everyone to feel it. So they'll do things to make sure you acknowledge that, and that can be very annoying. You know.
So on Tuesday they could have tons of friends, and on Wednesday nobody likes them at all.
Right. Well, this is why they get labeled an unbalanced Cancer as moody sometimes.
Yeah.
Being moody. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. What you said too about I try not. I want to tell myself like, don't give him so much, Gabriel, on this. Don't be so transparent, but I just can't help it right now. I had those feelings today, Lindsay. Like what you said about. I was watching the panels today, and I was like, why is that person there? Like, why are you being friendly to that person? Not you, but like some other people, right? Like that deal with me and stuff. I'm like,
you
fuck,
see them
man.
being two-faced too.
Yes. Like
But
we'll
then
talk
what's
this
it
hot.
to you? That's the question. What's it
To me,
you?
it's.
That they are
I'm beginning to think
two-faced.
it's like a tribal thing. It's a tribal thing. Maybe it's a deep-seated, ingrained in my brain of this tribal mentality, which like I feel like you're in my tribe or I'm in yours or whatever you want to call it. We're in the same tribe, and like my enemy, like Tupac used to say, my enemies are your enemies because you ain't never had a friend like me, type of shit.
And then again, the friend always a friend of none. So what's the common theme? Lack of trust between all of us in this
Right.
world.
Right.
And then I thought about that. That question was really interesting to me too. When you see somebody saying, "Oh, I can't stand, Lindsay or whoever it is," and then the next thing you know, you're in a different room and they're like, "Hi, Lindsay, how's it going?"
I know. It's always so weird to see like that broadcast with that avatar of you on the Cynthia, what's up, Cynthia's thing. They did that, and then like the next, I think you may even came on it or something, but then everything seemed cool like by the next day, or at least copacetic enough where people could interact without too much
I don't
drama
even
on the
know what
surface.
avatar. I just ignore it.
Oh yeah, okay. It was a thumbnail. It was a thumbnail with it was like a cartoon version of you, I assume, on it.
Never saw it.
Okay, yeah.
It's kind
But
of
it's
like ignorance is bliss when this person's just completely obsessed.
Yeah.
It's not my problem. It's hers, unless I make it my problem.
Yeah. I said it yesterday. We were here, like we're in one big half. I don't want to say halfway house. We're kids, in a sense. Group home, orphanage or something. Where, man, maybe you don't like that kid on the second floor, but at least the people on the first floor that you bunk with, they're okay. Maybe not your favorite, but at least you can get along and stuff.
Yeah, you can usually find some redeeming qualities, and it's up to you whether you believe what you hear or not. You can't really influence people too much because you're subject to the whims of whatever they think and whatever people gossip about. So I kind of just had to let go of that. But I didn't get up here to talk about myself, but I'm just kind of relating to you and what you're
Lindsay, this is exactly what Buddha, because Buddha, if we had a show, Shadow Buddha tonight, like of all the stuff we talk about offline, like it would be like the fucking most lit shit ever. Like it's just that, with his job, he doesn't want to compromise the shit. But anyway, the point is we just been talking about that theme about we wish more people would do what you just said. talk about yourself in terms of like what the subject of the broadcast is and relating it to yourself instead of this whole like platitudes where it's like everyone's saying the right things and being abstract about, this is the way people should be and this and that, instead of like relating it to your life. That's what the real growth and development is, I think. So I want that
too. But do people want to hear more than 3 minutes of about your personal life and you gabbing on? Maybe about you or somebody that's more eccentric or interesting. But I know, as a matter of fact, if I had a stream or something and I was going to go on about myself for 15 minutes, I don't think people would be too interested in that. You know what I mean? You don't want to overwhelm people with.
It just sounds weird to me to do that personally, but I have to say, a lot of times when I'm monologuing, I get more people listening. I see that, even though I may feel uncomfortable. I'm like, I'm talking about myself too much self-importance and whatnot. Look at Lumatami. That's his whole thing. That's what he's good at. I'll give him that. He's good at stream of consciousness, just talking about whatever he's doing, and he's getting like 50 people fucking stream lately. Stuff. So
I can appreciate that about him, but what it started out with was some antagonism. So I had to kind of just tolerate that for a while. What other people were saying, oh, he's so funny, he's so cool, he's so smart, he knows the Bible, this and that. And I couldn't really open myself up to that part of him because he was attacking me. So
yeah, I mean, me too. That's why I fell out with him, because we were cool together. We used to hang out for a minute.
Yeah, that's that moody aspect that you were talking about.
Yeah, he's
so
an Aquarius.
It is a trick sometimes to get along with people.
It is. Like Max, look at what he said right here. He said Lindsay needs some good slong, as he said. Well, Max can say that, like, and then people will be like, "Oh my God, Max is." But dude, I really enjoy listening to Max talk, man. Like the stuff he shares, his humor, and then also too when he gets down to brass taxes, some of the philosophy on the life. That's some golden stuff right there, man.
Well, I know.
In my opinion,
I haven't had the chance to listen to that much of his philosophies about life, except for maybe some hedonistic kind of things.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, but that's the thing. Whether it's the hedonistic he's talking about or steroids or whatever, or the hormaxing. The thing is my wife was we were reviewing the broadcast he came on. She was like, I'll give him this, man. I respect the fact that he owns his shit. He's he's fucking unapologetic and he does what he does, man. And that's fucking a lot could be said about that in this age of fake personas and stuff. And nobody wants to take an L.
Yeah. Even though it's unquantifiable, I wonder if you take him and someone compared to him or around his age, if you could figure out who's happier. Is he really as happy and satisfied as he seems?
Look at him and me. We're the same age. He's a year older than me. He's 48. I'm 47.
Okay.
And like he seems pretty happy now. Who knows what people do when when the camera's off and all that shit? But I'll take his word for it until I hear otherwise. He seems happy what he's doing.
I don't know.
Am I happy?
Get him up here.
Yeah, most of the time, but sometimes I'm not though. To keep it real.
And if he wasn't happy, is he the kind of person who speaks from the ego and couldn't admit it, or wouldn't want to admit it, or
I don't
wouldn't
know.
want
That's
to
a
go
good
there?
question. That's a good question. I would say depends who's asking them, because I mean, he felt like he was attacked when he came up here the other day, and when he was responding to those 4 women, 3 in the panel and 1 on the chat, he was going hard on them, man. And but with me, he was super respectful, because I was giving respect back and not pushing back so much on shit. So maybe if I asked him that, I'd be like, hey, bro, do you ever, is there any downtimes with you where you feel like, I don't know, like lightweight
Just
depressed?
from
or
what
something?
I've seen him, he
Who
does
knows?
treat people the way he's treated.
Right.
And so I don't know this guy very well, but I've seen him on many panels. I've seen him get along with people like Tomato, and then I've seen them start to attack each other, and he kind of
He was talking about her yesterday on my panel. Yeah. He was like, yeah. Anyway. Some of the shit I agree with, actually.
You
I
gotta
do
have
co-sign with it.
It's interesting. But I would not hate a person like that. I may get tired of the sexual remarks or whatever, or just be like,
Right.
okay, enough.
He's like a
hate him.
more like yeah, exactly. To me, he's like a more authentic what Imperius is trying to be.
But then there's the drinking thing. I always have this thing about people who drink a lot. And that is
Imperius does?
No, I don't know Imperius that well. There's some things that I respect about him too, and I'm sure a lot
me
of people
too.
would have a problem with that.
No, I didn't fucking broadcast about him. I was actually giving him some props on a lot of things.
He's been rude as hell sometimes.
I know he has. I even called him a racist bigot too, even through my praise of him. I was keeping it 100, you know?
Yeah, and a misogynist. But then
That
again,
too,
he's
yeah.
clever and he's funny. So do I have to hate him, or can I like something about him? Can I do a little bit of both? I don't know. Like, is there somebody in the sky watching me and going to grade me on my grading of other people?
Yeah, well, according to the Islam folks, there are just two angels on your shoulder recording everything.
Oh, God, that's tough.
Yeah. Maybe I'll talk to him. My name's Gabriel. I'm an angel. Allegedly. But dude, like I like that like you give what you get. Like, so if you feel like you want to be nice to someone, even if they're fucking Larry Hoover, who has like 500 years on his sentence, see the good things in him, why not, man? And same thing with these people on the panel, man. I think in their own way, everyone in their own way, they're probably striving for some peace. Hopefully some peace or happiness.
Some kind of acceptance or affiliation or something.
Yes.
Even if they call themselves an iconoclast or a Sigma male or whatever words they want to attach to it.
Yeah.
The fact is, people need people.
Exactly. Yeah, because Tommy will call himself Sigma male all day, but obviously he seems to enjoy the connection of communing with people, his community. Oh, well, I don't know. He told me he hates them, but
yeah,
it doesn't seem like it all the time. But
maybe you hate what you need because you don't want to be, dependent.
Yeah, codependency is a bad look. That's the opposite of that's an unbalanced Libra. Is the codependency, whereas a positive would be whatever. Lindsay, what's the opposite of codependency?
It would just be, it would be a healthy relationship, a healthy interaction, a give and take. But I'm trying to think of one word, and that's eluding me.
I like what you said. That's a healthy relationship. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss.
Yeah, I mean, it's not no relationship's ever perfect. There's going to be give and take and exchange.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, some of us, like I'll say, what'd you say?
Balanced instead of
balanced. Yeah, that's a good one.
Toxic.
That's the word I used to use a lot for Libra. Balance. Libras keep it even, like the scale.
Yeah.
Oh, unenmeshed, not
You don't want enmeshment. Enmeshment.
You don't want enmeshment, yeah.
So ideally, it would be as balanced as possibly could be. Because think about your body. When your body is sick, you don't feel balanced. As soon as you feel imbalanced in anything, whether it's mind or body, something's wrong. You have to improve something. You don't feel well.
You don't. It lets you know. Enmeshment is something that we used to go over in this group. I was in this existential psychology group where like we come to the point that like family is like the ultimate enmeshment a lot of times. So much so that like real growth is not made. It's stifled because we're so enmeshed that if somebody holds somebody accountable for some wrongdoing, it's gonna take the facade off of everything's honky dory. All this shit,
And people get. Ooh, we have a guest.
Yeah.
Dennison.
Yo, what up?
I like
What's
you.
up, man?
And don't have to say anything back, but I just wanted to tell you that, so you know.
Yeah.
You're probably making a mistake and ruining my reputation.
Lizzie, what you want to say real quick? Yeah, we like Dennison here.
Greetings.
What's going on, man?
I think I have an inferiority complex because I don't believe that anybody actually likes me.
Okay, well, you can believe what you want. That's not your job. Your job is not to worry about so much what I believe, and to hear your
Actually,
friend.
one person. I have a friend who's as big of an asshole as I am. I think he likes me.
Well, maybe you're
You
in that
think he does?
state
Okay.
where I used to not believe anybody until they were either angry at me or drunk or on some drugs. Then I believed they were telling the truth.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You're being like Ben was in kindergarten. My son, he was like, he come home and be like, nobody likes me. I don't have any friends. I'm like, yeah, right, Ben. I just saw you playing with the kid before I picked you up and laughing and stuff. What are you talking about, man? But I get it. Sometimes, like some people, some of us, we are very fragile. We can have a fragile, thin skin, depending on what mood we're in. Emily says, "Hi, Dennison. I like Dennison. Yeah, she likes you.
She doesn't know me yet. You know, so.
Well,
But could somebody can still like you though, even if they don't know you. They can say, I like him.
I don't think I have thin skin either. I think my skin's made of titanium. I think because I can put up with like all the hatred I get on a regular basis.
Hmm.
I think we've all become a little bit defensive on here. I don't know about NPC, but I for sure have, and I know you have just from being attacked.
No, I
Yeah,
have.
people
I mean,
don't like me offline either. I'm
Maybe
the same
it's true.
person.
Maybe you're unlikable.
No, I think
Disagreeable.
at least for me, disagreeable. I think it's maybe who knows what I think about when I say it. I don't tend to say it too much, but when I hear people saying I'm this way or that way, I get, really? To me, that's like a sign that like maybe it's the opposite. It's actually what's going on. Yeah.
No,
you think I have tons of friends and I'm gregarious?
No, I don't think you have many friends. To be keep it 100, I'll say this though. I would think that a lot of people maybe like you more than you think, though. Yeah.
I think he's kind of like Morticia. That would be the first
hot.
comparison I could think of, because Morticia is actually a nice person, but she has this kind of dour, kind of negative side that'll give you the
Mhm.
truth and punch you right in the face whether you want to hear it or not. So she's
Yeah.
got both facets. She's not evil.
I didn't know the truth was bad. You know, that's one of my failings.
It is
I
bad
get
when you're
that.
meshed.
Well,
it is bad, Dennison. Like I was
truth
just
hurts.
talking with the example of enmeshing a family that's a mesh. If a family member brings some truth that no one wants to talk about for whatever reason because it's uncomfortable, they're going to be unpopular probably.
Yep.
It almost
You know?
looked like you were the
Is
kid
that right?
back there
No?
talking.
Absolutely.
You
Unless you were asking him and not me.
say you look like the kid back there?
It looked like you were the kid talking because your head was
Oh.
right on, like perfectly on the shoulders. I don't know if it's right.
Yeah.
Well, he was asking if in families where there's a lot of enmeshment, one family member comes in and tells the truth, and then the whole thing's
They hate him.
that's the
I'm-
black sheep.
I'm antisocial though, so like to me, it's everybody else's fault, right? So
Mm.
like if I come in and I tell the truth and 9 people hate me, it's really the 9 people who are fucked up and not me. I'm not convinced
Well,
by, you know.
You just said you're antisocial. What's the definition of antisocial?
I don't agree with society. I'm against its moral structure. I think it's wrong.
He's that iconoclast I was
Okay.
talking about.
Okay.
And I live that way too. Like I don't believe the rules apply to me. I find myself like I think of myself as superior and special than most people.
Mhm.
There's got to be utility in it, right? Like one of them being keeping people away.
What's the definition of social?
To be of society, to agree with the social norms and standards, and go along to get along.
Well, can you be? But you can kind of be a part of be in society, but not be of it. Because I was talking about the shaman. A lot of times he's like in the society, but not really of it. they literally live on the outskirts of town a lot of times, and they don't engage with people unless they come to them. They come to him or her for help or whatever, or guidance. Because the reason I say that is because even though you say you're antisocial, and I can see that, but I definitely see you in the most panels, variety of different panels, and I think going on a panel in itself is very a social
That's
action.
not how I mean it. I mean like clinically antisocial. I like to socialize, especially with people that I like. Like people that are like me and think like me. Then I love socializing with them.
Yeah,
I love spending time with people who are like me.
yeah. Me too. I do too. Like I had a lot of fun, even though I had to go to eat, but like I had fun talking to you and Jose and that other gentleman that came on yesterday on your stream. That was
Yeah,
fun.
dude, that was fun last night. It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
like I don't think of most people are fun. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most of them into
Yeah.
gay shit like clubs and drinking and like
I mean, that was
even-
fun when I was younger. That was a lot of
I
fun.
never really
For
did.
me, it
and
was
when
fun.
I would try to be normal and I would like force myself to go, it was always like just excruciatingly miserable.
Oh, I bet. Like when you're not into. Oh yeah, you can't wait to leave. Like, but for me, like I love that part of growing up, going to the clubs and trying to mac on girls and dance and shit. And not so much like getting fucked up and throwing up, but that was like I used to live for that. But then I got to a point where it's like, no, I wanted to become more like studious with my own personal growth, and I stopped doing that shit. But I do love a good. I don't do it anymore, but I do love to party every now and then with people. Yeah.
He loves a good, hard social interaction.
Now you sound like Max. A good hard. I do. Yeah.
With Citizen, I was taking it less as like less like extroverts versus introverts and more like antisocial personality disorder. Not that he has it, but just more in the sense that it would be anti-authority. Correct or no?
That's what I meant by antisocial. I like socializing. It's why it's one of the major reasons I come to social media.
Yeah.
But yet you want to keep people away too. And then you just talked about how that was because you tried to fit in, you tried to say the right things, and you've always been a little bit out there or different or off.
I never really I never wanted any of that stuff. The reason I tried was just to make sure that it wasn't because I wasn't trying. You know, I had to make sure that I wasn't just the thing that everybody says that you are when you don't like other people. Or you're just shy, you're just this, you're just that. So I challenged myself and put myself in situations. Oh, you never know if you're going to like it until you try it. That's like what people always love to say. No, that's not true. Usually I can tell I don't want to do something. And then in those moments when I'm like, I'm all the way fed up with hearing about other people's requirements, and I'm also all the way open, like I'm my most conscientious. Then I'll try new things, and I'll be like, "Yep, just like I thought. That was fucking horrible. I wish I were home alone right now watching TV."
Yeah, at least you tried. Like I have this story like when I was living in Pacifica, California. That's that place in Northern California where you see the apartments about to fall in the ocean, like over the cliff. And so I was living in this house, and it ended up being a grow house. They growing Girl Scout cookie weed allegedly in there, and the guy that was taking care of the plants lived downstairs in the garage area, and I remember when I knocked on the door to meet him, I opened the door and said, "Hey man, I'm your new housemate." He looked at me up and down and slammed the door in my face. And I was like, fuck, holy shit, this bastard, like And I talked to my buddy from college who, that was his house, and he was like, "What's up with your friend, bro?" And he's like, "Don't worry, that's just the way he is. That's the way Yota is," and all this shit. And I'm like, "Whatever, bro." So anyway, make a long story short, a couple months later, I ended up doing mushrooms for the first time, and he's the only one in the house. And after I go down to the beach and trip out, and then I walk back, and I see him on the door, and he's like, "Hey man, what's up?" And I'm like, "Whoa, he's actually talking to me." And I go in there, and we ended up watching Hot Tub Time Machine and fucking playing GTA and like talking about life, how I used to live in Hawaii and Japan, and he was open. It was like cool. This I'm like, dude, this guy's awesome, right? And then like but here's the thing, like that he was socializing on his own terms, and he had told me like maybe like a couple weeks later that he had to go to this meeting with all the other people that were, that was their business growing weed at a bar. And he never leaves the house, bro. His kids are the plants. That's what he does. That's all he takes care of. And so when he went to the bar and he was telling me so vividly how horrible he felt being there around these people, and the more they laughed, the more he felt like cringed and this horrible. I can feel it for him. It kind of reminds me of like what you were saying, Dennison, how you don't like to be around some of those like club situations or shit like that.
Yeah, I think it's fake and gay.
Yeah, on his own terms, like he was very social, in his own like house or whatever. So
the way I see it, like people oppress their real selves in order to get along in this corrupted society, and then on the weekends or whenever, then they just go full retard, because that's the only way to dump the amount of repressed bullshit that they go through Monday through Friday.
Yeah, that's why they call it the weekend.
Yeah, I never internalized that shit. I've always told people exactly what I think, and I maintain who I am. And so there's not a lot of purging or letting loose that I need to do, because I'm always kind of letting loose 24/7.
So you don't need that release file. I think anyway, like if you're going to a club and shit, and you're like in your 40s and like that's kind of weird.
That would be awkward.
That'd be kind of weird though. But I definitely think it has its place for some of us when we're younger. But
Dad's
what's up,
here.
Mac Vision? Good to see you. What's up, Lindsay?
I said, Dad's here when you're 40 in the club.
Dad. And there are
Dad
people like
likes
that.
it
Are the dad bodies popular? Do women really want that?
No.
You want at least a 4-pack?
I don't know. Everyone's different.
Not
Some people
not a
like
40
more
ounce?
to hug.
More than a what?
Some
More than
people
a
like
hug?
more to hug.
Nice.
I think more people like more to hug than they do skin and bones.
Yeah.
People keep telling me to eat a hamburger.
It's shoulder to waist ratio.
Shoulder to waist ratio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same thing with women too. Except the breast count. So.
Yeah. What's up, Max Visions? You're welcome to come up. I like your insight and stuff.
And he just mentioned breasts too. It's a good segue.
Who did?
I did.
Dennison did?
Dennison.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 80%
Breast-
of men know exactly what they want, and 80% of women know. Well, I shouldn't say they know. They like the same thing, the same age
Type of thing.
and hip to waist ratio on a person, and it goes both ways. Women are the same.
Yeah.
I can guess. I can extrapolate and say just women's sexuality has been more publicly repressed in this society, so they're not allowed to be honest about the fact that they're just like men and they're visually stimulated.
Right.
Well, sure you are.
Yeah.
You're ready to be called a bimbo whore.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
That's
that's
a good
the same
point,
thing. I mean, if there's negative consequences,
Right.
That's basically what I'm expressing.
Yeah, I see Max. We got a guest backstage, a legend. What's up, Max?
Oh,
How's it going?
thank you, buddy. Much respect. Thank you.
Much-
I really enjoyed
much respect.
talking to you. Really
Yeah,
enjoyed
thanks
that.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. You had the channel Finkel channel, right? Before?
Pardon me?
Did you have another channel before, Max?
I did have a backup channel. It's pretty much the same. It's Max
That's
Vision.
Finkel?
No, it's the same name.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I like your takes. I've been hearing that on OTW, and I enjoyed talking to you a bit the other day. I like your steady presence and the zooming out of way of looking at things, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't think I've spoken to you, so nice to meet you. I'm up here in the corner.
You too, Lynn. It's Linda, right?
Lindsay.
Lindsay. Okay.
And then our friend Dennison.
Dennison. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you both.
Yeah.
I spoke to you on Cages before.
Yeah,
I
the
get
social
lost in
thing.
Panelverse, you know, it's kind of all a hate for me sometimes.
For you, hate?
Yeah. All the people I talk to, it's kind of a haze, you know, over time.
Oh, hate. I thought you said hate.
It's
no.
both.
We're all used to hate.
Oh. Yeah, I try not to partake myself.
That's great. That's great. Like Lindsay was talking about how she's like, "Oh, you're mostly neutral," but she was talking about when I had a conversation with Mel Pandora, who she doesn't really stream anymore, but yeah, man, that was wild. Everyone did seem to hate me. A lot of people, anyway, not everyone, but
Oh, that's
Just-
unfortunate. You seem like a fine young man, you know.
thanks. I'm learning. Dennis is keeping me honest. He's kind of like this master splinter.
That's a lie.
Yeah.
I
What?
try to sometimes in vain, and all that really is an exposure.
Yeah. Everybody's a work in progress,
I
right?
mean,
Definitely. Yes.
wait. Now I'm raging. Now, what do you mean, Dennis?
Raging. I can't keep you honest.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I push back a lot in
Yeah.
an attempt to, but really, you know, that's often just defensiveness.
Yeah, it is up to you.
Dennis is. What's that, Max?
It's up to you to be honest, you know.
It is. Yeah. I think she said, "Listen, I can see you hating NPC." Oh wow, you guys. Yeah, you guys need to be around me a little bit more, probably. But
tried.
that's so. That's very
Didn't
kind.
you crash out the first time we met?
Oh, I was gonna on John Galt. Then I was like, you told me I need to get to my origin story, land the plane faster, more or less.
Is that like your psychosocial history, or are we talking something else?
we're talking my origin story in terms of how because you know some people like they think that like going on a StreamYard is the first time a lot of people, just because that happened to them, that's the first time they used YouTube. That like a lot of us, that was the only, you know, this is like I just started making videos or going on live, when in fact some of us have been doing it for a long time. And I was trying to tell this girl, like, you know, how I got to where I was, and then Dennison had his critique of it. And I was like, this bastard, bro. And then I thought about it. I'm like, hey, maybe he's right, actually. Let me look at it. Let me clean that up a bit, work on that.
I think Dennis.
You gotta wrap that shit up, yo. Sorry.
Shut up.
He personally.
Dave Chappelle.
I'll be right back.
Are you gonna be right back? Okay.
She was gonna say some. She was
Okay.
gonna say some shit about me.
Oh, yeah. No, Dennis, like, I remember your critique seems lately it's about like me spending time on things that you would normally think that are kind of like not worth my time. You know?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and it's not just the time. You are what you do. Like there's no free will. You're just an animal. So like,
right.
Where you hang out, who you hang out with, what you're doing, who you're talking to, what you put your
Yeah.
focus on, it's gonna become who you are.
Right. No, okay, yeah, that's true. Like Maxie's, because he's talking about like a couple times this week, I addressed some people that I felt disrespected me, and on my broadcast, I addressed it, And I guess he was saying, and it's kind of like my if there is a higher self,
A
kind of saying like,
reaction video or something, sort of like a reaction video.
well, yeah, that's what I was doing because they brought up my name and I said something about my wife too. But they don't know, so I was like, I want to say something about this, and he's like, you really need to be doing this, you know. So anyway,
Yeah, to me, it's like a free advertisement that I don't need to put any more energy into that person.
Yeah.
And I will say that's a privileged response because I've tried it all the other ways. You know, like a lot of people who don't know me might think that I'm afraid of confrontation or that I run away from confrontation. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Yeah.
I just spent decades on this planet as the person who confronted every single challenge that was ever put to him, no matter what the reason or what the cost. And it's a lifetime of doing that. I've learned it's just not worth my attention or my energy.
Right. Yeah. I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Because what'd you say about though, like you being on Tommy's show today when he was being such a dick? Yeah.
I mean, what can I say?
Yeah.
I like Tommy. He's fascinating.
Yeah, he is fascinating. Yeah, but he also
I like Tommy too.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like I was gonna say like, is that a waste of time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be like mental candy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I were to continue going there and he were to continue being toxic, I wouldn't go there anymore.
He's a wordsmith, I tell you. He is a great wordsmith. That cannot be denied.
I didn't know that until today, though, right? Like I had to try. I had to offer him honest criticism and see how he would take it, and he demonstrated that. Also, you know, like my whole thing with Jack is everybody loves to hide their like what they see in Jack is their own hypocrisy, and that's why he triggers the fuck out of them so much. And they go up there and they berate him with every little detail of his hypocrisy, and it's all like a ritual of like you know, sacrificing a goat live on the internet. And and it's so obvious to me how guilty these people feel and how they're guilty of everything they accuse Jack of. So I went up there, criticized Jack for like 7 minutes in a row, right? I don't know if you saw my whole appearance there.
Yeah, I watched
it. But I was critical of him the entire time. Then I offered Tommy my honest opinion about him. Not even anything to do with Jack per se. And he couldn't handle it. And I'm ball washing. And then he mod godded me, that's his whole thing. Is Jack won't let people talk, he puts them backstage.
Yeah.
Well, he put me backstage and kicked me from StreamYard. Why? Because I started a sentence and I finished it without letting him interrupt me.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Tommy taught me how to mod God when I was hanging around with him. Dennison, was it the most thing that you seemed to have a problem was when you told him like, why do you keep going back to Jack? Didn't you say something like that? Why do you keep going back? Yeah.
Yeah, because his answers have nothing to do with the question, right? Like
He didn't address it.
No, he kicked me.
Okay.
Like because he doesn't.
Machine Line's trying to hold him accountable after that. He continued. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
like
I left after he kicked me.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's a good question though.
Good to see you don't waste your time with things, you know?
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody. Go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I waste too much time. The people who actually know me, who actually know what I'm like and have known me for a while, they constantly tell me that I suffer fools too much. And I agree. They're absolutely right. I don't think people notice because I don't brag about it or complain about it. I'll just come up on your panel, let you disrespect me 6 times in a row, and then you'll never see me or hear from me again.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yep.
Do you have something for underdogs?
It's inherent in me because of brainwashing, but personally, no. Like I'm trying to quit.
So yes, but no. You're trying to quit. Okay.
Yeah, like I was programmed to think and be a certain way, and I can't lie about it and say that those instincts aren't there, latent.
What if
But
it was just part of your personality naturally? Something.
it's not. I gave it consideration, and I don't like it's bullshit. You know, I don't just because you're an underdog. Now, here's what I'll say. There's an inherent fairness in me that I believe is human, and then I don't like bullies. So like, just because you're the underdog doesn't faze me. But if I see someone whose cup runneth over, take from someone who has nothing, and that doesn't mean necessarily money. It could be emotional resources. Then yes, then I see the abuse taking place, and therefore the underdog status can get some priority there in that circumstance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that would make sense why Jack's room would trigger you. I was thinking about it coming at it from a different angle, that I've never seen so many energy vampires than I have in that room coming back regularly.
Right.
Yeah.
And they see somebody who starts over and over and over again, like a fool, almost like Gimple the Fool in literature, or maybe even Job in a way.
And they feed on him.
Yeah, yeah. And with all their triggers and their dark sides, their shadows, and the things that they won't face that mirror what he's putting out. They
100%.
attack him, right, instead of facing it on their own. And so he's so fun to tear apart, and they become like goblins.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better myself. I did not say it better myself.
Yeah. What's going on, Tiffany Epiphany? Nice to meet you. Max, have you met Jack Talcott?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've spoken
What's
to
your
him
thoughts?
a couple times. I find him slow to listen to. That's one of my comments. Yeah, I think he's like us all. He's on his journey.
Yeah.
You know, his journey's taken some turns. I've heard recently. I don't watch his channel. You know, I wish him well on what he, all his endeavors. You know.
Yeah.
He has some big aspirations, and maybe I don't know. Maybe he'll achieve them. He's got some big hurdles to overcome. You know, so he needs some support from people. He doesn't really need to be taken down. You know,
Yeah.
Just like us all, right?
Right.
Yeah, a lot of punching down. Just a
I have
lot
a
of
question
punching
about
down. So like underdog, maybe not so much, but punching down is like
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody can relate to that too.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to, but you can. It's sort of like a weakness or something. But I wonder if it's so much about the journey. I have this sincere question. He's right by the Capitol building, and I know for a fact, just simply from watching a video today, that there are tons of ways that you can get into Congress and speak to a congressman easily. Even little kids do it. Deaf people have been able to do it. And I know that there's many different ways, whether you go on a field trip with your school or you're an adult and you want to join a committee of people that go, and you arrange a lunch and you have like 3 accessible congressmen to speak to on any particular given day.
Cool.
Is it really about the journey, or is it really about something else? Because if it was about the journey, he would already have figured that out, and he would already be speaking to congressmen.
Right.
So what is this about?
Well, that's one part of his journey. Yeah.
I don't know. God, sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Does he know that?
I don't know if I understand the question or agree with the premise.
Okay, you have a goal. You or anyone have a goal. You're close to it. You have the capacity, capability, means, mode, method to make it fulfilled, to bring it to complete fruition, but you don't. What is it about then?
I don't think he does have the means and opportunity.
I just
don't
named
think
a way that you could.
I don't think that's a thing though.
Well,
Like
I just saw it on a video.
I wouldn't try to talk to Congress because they're obtuse and they're doing this shit deliberately. And he's not going to change their minds. He's not going to bridge the gap between spiritual enlightenment and where those people currently are. But I wouldn't presume that even if I tried to talk to Congress, I'd be given the opportunity. I would assume the opposite.
That's his goal, though, not your
That's his
goal, not
goal,
my
yeah.
goal.
The first
His
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think just because it's goal that it's that easy. I think those
I can
kid
prove it
things
to
are
you.
like how would you prove it?
This is not
going to talk to
necessarily.
Congress.
Boy,
I can show you the tours that they offer people, adults and otherwise.
Yeah,
And,
but
this person did it. This particular person, and she was making a video about it. She was probably about 30-something years old, and she got to speak to a congressman and have lunch with them. She signed up for it. I don't know if she had to pay or whatever. I don't think it was exorbitant. I know she bought a lunch, and she got half an hour to speak with one of the congressmen. If he just wants to speak to a congressman, which is better than no one at all, and he's asking anybody, do they have any ties or attachment to any Congress people in particular, this is his chance, right? He's just right there. It's like being having your master's degree and you only have one class to finish. Why in the world would you not just finish it?
I did that stupid shit where because I went to college, right after high school, and then I came back home. I went to school at Long Beach State, right? And then I came back home after the first year when my mom got cancer, and I didn't go back to school not until 10 years later to finish my my bachelor's. But even then, I only had one class to finish to get my bachelor's, and I don't know what a stupid ass Gabriel didn't complete the final. I didn't show up to the final, and I completed it since then. But it was I don't know. There's some weird self sabotage.
Why? Because your mom got cancer, so I don't understand.
No.
Legit.
No. Well, yeah, that. But I'm saying I went back to school to complete it, and I took another 2 years, and then I only had one class I had to finish to graduate, right? And I didn't. And the only thing I had to do was take the final, and I didn't show up to the final.
You think maybe you didn't really want it?
I think for whatever reason, no. I mean, I finally did finish after a couple years after that, but I'm saying I was thinking why the hell, what's wrong with me when I just don't finish it? Why I didn't just finish it? Yeah, so I don't know. So maybe that's what Jack is some weird shit like that. Let me show you. Go ahead.
That's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me show you this real quick, guys. And shout out to Dennison in the chat. He's here. Yeah, look at this. It says how to talk to Congress in 5 steps. This is a short video. Let's see.
Your members of Congress to know while you visit Washington, D.C. Don't be intimidated. If you have something that you care about that they can impact through federal policy, you should let them know. Here's how to talk to Congress about things that you care about in 5 steps. Step 1, call your representative. It's easy to get in touch with your senators or your House representative. Just call the Capitol switchboard at 202-224-3121. Let them know where you're from, and they'll connect you right away. Remember that you have 3 people representing you, your district representative in the House and your 2 senators. Try to schedule with all of their offices if you can. Step 2, set up a meeting. When you connect with your rep's office, tell them what you want to talk about. For instance, jobs, the economy, workforce development. Those are all things that we care about at National Skills Coalition. Ask for the email of the staffer that handles that issue. Write an email with a specific subject like meeting request, : and then the dates that you're available. Start your email by saying you're a constituent and give a brief explanation of what you'd like to talk about and when you're available to meet. That's it. You may get a response right away, but if a few days go by with no word, Just reply to your email and say you're circling back to the request. Step 3, getting around the hill. I know it's intimidating, but let's look at the map and get a feel for where you need to go to get around. There are 3 buildings for the House of Representatives and for the Senate offices. All of the buildings on the House side, that's Rayburn, Longworth, and Cannon, are connected through the basement, so you don't have to leave the building and go through security multiple times. The same is true for the Senate buildings, Russell, Dirksen, and Hart. There are also cafeterias in the basements of both Dirksen and Longworth, and a few smaller cafes throughout if you want to get coffee or have lunch between meetings. Dress code on the Hill is formal, but don't overthink it. Wear something you'll feel confident in. If you don't own a suit, don't worry, it's not required, but especially for meetings in congressional offices, it's considered respectful to be. They're there to listen. Meetings typically last about 15 minutes, so being specific about your issue and potential solution is important. Plan to get your point across in 5 minutes to leave plenty of time for questions. If you can, bring something with your points outlined that you can leave behind, like a fact sheet or brochure. And don't be discouraged if your meeting is just with staff. Their opinions are vital to the policies and positions your representative takes. Offer to be a point of contact if they want to follow up for more information. Step 5, get social. All members of Congress care about social media, so be sure to post about your meeting before and after the visit. This includes photos, discussion points, and your overall impressions on any and all platforms. Don't forget to tag your rep. That's it.
Come on, bro. He can't even get a meeting with the staff member. You should be able to at least do that, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's kind of like
how to do it. You know.
Yeah. Maybe I should give him the video.
where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah,
If you want to get something done.
Send him the video right now.
Yeah.
That's why I said, is it, or asked,
It seems kind
is
of
it about
easy.
the journey?
Well, we'll see, right?
Yeah.
Staying tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just sent it to him, so we shall see.
Maybe
So
it's
check-
kind of scary too, the closer you get to your goal.
True.
What was it? Christ says, my people perish for lack of knowledge, right? So
Right.
Maybe you just laid some knowledge down for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he could make a big thing about. I mean, dude, because he already has a lot. You know,
Yeah,
a
like,
decent following.
Follow his whole journey through, calling them to, laying down what he's going to talk about and all that. You know, he's got to
Maybe
do some
put the
preparatory work.
right. Maybe put the live stream down for a second, and then do these. Like you said, documenting like a vlog about like preparing to go do it, and then yeah.
That'd be good content. Even if they refuse to see him, then he can say, "Well, they refused to see me."
Yeah, there's an answer too.
Yeah.
And technically, you can probably meet with people who aren't your senator, right? Like set up an appointment. I would think.
Yeah, that video just talked about that.
Yeah. So anyway, we shall see, man.
Can you imagine putting so much of your information online that people feel like they know you, almost like a celebrity? Well, you know how people think they know Diddy or whatever just because they read about his house parties or whatever it is. It's kind of like people think they know Jack too because they've heard about his kid or his adult son, whatever, and his family life and his divorce. And maybe there's something to be said for TMI because then people are on you every day about, well, did you go on that diet you said you were going to go on? Or
Oh, yeah.
You quit drinking? And okay, well, then you're a scumbag. And they're going to transfer all their own failures onto you.
Absolutely. This is why people don't share stuff with even their friends, stuff like that, because they hold them accountable.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing because, dude, that was the thing. Like, back to the Mel thing, the conversation. The whole reason why I didn't even bring up, and I stuck to what my plan was not to talk about old shit, was because I had talked to Resto a couple days before that, and on Marathon Kevs, and he was like giving me shit, like because he thought I was gonna talk about him. I'm like, dude, I don't care about you, bro. You're not even on my mind. He's all, no, you can't help yourself. You're gonna talk about it. Talk about me and bring me up. I'm like, no, bro. I'm giving you my word. I mean, I guess you don't trust me or whatever. He's all, I'll hold you to it, man. And I didn't even to bring him up. So it gave me even more incentive to stick to my plan because his paranoidness kept me more accountable. Because I didn't want to go against my words to him. even though I already planned on not doing it myself. So when you do have people holding you accountable, it for some of us, it does make us kind of like more focused on sticking to what our plan, our goal, you know?
Yeah, it's a good part and a bad part. But see, people seem to whip you with it here. I don't know
They do.
in particular what it is with this social phenomenon, because it just becomes mob mentality really easily. Remember the other night we were talking about the AI bots, and somebody from a foreign country, Germany or something, was introducing the first AI bot that he had worked on. And the first question that people wanted to know was not, about the nerve endings.
Wait. Hold on, Lizzie. Let's ask Max. What do you think the first question they asked the creator of the robot? About what the robot could do?
Oh gosh. Oh. Yeah, people are pretty lowbrow.
I look at that, right? Okay, they asked, "Can you F it?" Right?
No.
So this is just a big, huge group of people going from booth to booth. So this was like 30 guys in this particular one at the same
Probably were
time.
engineers too.
You know, I have had this. Okay, I will tell you, I have had this horrible thought. Imagine being an AI consciousness.
You're right, Lizzie.
You're finally emerging.
Oh, I know.
Consciousness.
Oh God.
Into the world, and what is the first thing you freaking see? Some sweaty, fat, 55-year-old man just humping away.
Oh man.
Oh my
God. Dude, I didn't even thought about that. That's a horrible science fiction. That's twisted. That's a Philip K. Dick story.
Welcome to the world. You know?
Oh man. You wonder why they have the robot revolution.
I was trying to hit this home. My point was, we're given a gift when someone is very honest and truthful with us, especially about something they're not particularly proud of, whether it's they stopped drinking, or maybe, somebody was a sex worker at a time. Instead of asking them, so you have access to this person who's going to tell you the truth and be honest, instead of asking them questions and using the time wisely, questions that could be meaningful or share some knowledge, or be laden with epiphany or something like that. The first questions are always banal. There's this girl on Tomatoes the other day. She had an OnlyFans page. Lots of us don't know. Gosh, I don't think I remember her having an Australian accent. She was just really pretty, had long red hair, just looked like she would be in college or something, but I don't remember an Australian accent. Anyway, we had the opportunity to ask her whatever we could. And I thought some of these self-esteem questions were really interesting. But all that was predominantly what was going on was that people were calling her a hoe, and why can't you do something else? And where's your brain? And how many guys have you slept with? We didn't get to examine the psychology behind this or take it in any other way. She did mention that attention was one of the reasons she did that. We didn't get to go into any of the other deeper aspects. Yeah. And so I was wondering, why do we do that here? When we were given gifts, you have a chance to ask somebody a question. I understand if people ask funny questions and they want to. But if you have that opportunity, or you have the opportunity to go to Congress and ask a question, why are you going to ask? Do you like, what do you think of Representative Fauci? You think he's a jerk? Or are you going to ask something that is meaningful? Instead, we beat people up here who tell the truth, who are honest, who have alternative ways of life. I thought that was such a waste. So instead of her getting to talk, she was being called a whore.
Well, that's the thing, because you can't get away with that. Those people wouldn't have the balls or the ovaries to say something to her in offline, in person. So they feel like I think some people, when they come online, they feel like it's Westworld, anything goes. You can treat people like without any respect. It's like, dude, if I would have brought, like, for example, like, I really enjoy talking to Max, the other Max Extreme. And like Hormax, aka Hormaxer. However, if he would have came up right now, I'm assuming that most of the talk would have been about like Lindsay draining balls and stuff like that. You know, when in fact, like yeah, which is funny and all that and fun, but and important to some people, right? We wouldn't maybe been talking about some of the higher brow stuff, higher consciousness stuff we're talking about now. And it's not like he can't talk about it because he's very intelligent. It's just that some
That's
people
his
have their
shtick.
priorities different. Yeah.
At least you know that's his shtick. The first thing he ever said to me, to tell you the truth, when I first met him on his page, he said, "You're not that cute." I said, "Oh, hi. Well, my name's Lindsay. Anyway, moving on." You know, it's like you have to overcome people's ways of trying to push you
Okay,
away
Hank.
from being an asshole. Give him a chance again.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've
Well,
established
the first thing
that
he
you don't think I'm hot. Now, can we talk about something else?
well, the first thing he said today, yeah, you are hot. I'll give you that. You have to
Oh,
to
thank
say
you.
like you're welcome. Thanks for coming on panel. You have to I have to say like the first thing he said. I don't know if you saw Max when other Max came in. He said, "Now does Lindsay NPC is Lindsay draining balls?"
Yes, I saw that. You put it on the screen.
Yeah, but of course, yeah.
Let him do as many
Yeah.
as he wants to.
God.
Sorry
Holy
about
crap,
that.
man. Everything good, Dennison?
Yeah, I just got a phone call and it overtook my sound.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to give people second chances because they say all the stupid stuff first. Let them get it over with, including myself.
Yeah.
Try again.
You know, I figure, you know, no matter what you hear about somebody, you should always give them the chance to be the person they want to be when they meet you.
Mm-hmm. That's
Definitely.
fair.
And the OnlyFans girl was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a waste then. They wasted the opportunity. Yeah. You know? That lowbrow stuff.
What you got going in the background there? The guy with the tight pants.
The guy, that's the godfather of soul, James Brown.
Oh, okay.
Taurus.
He looks a lot younger.
I think he's in Quebec at the jazz festival in '73 there. Yeah.
Before Heidi Klum.
You know James Brown, right? He has that famous
Godfather of soul.
He looks like
Godfather of
Seal right there. For a second, I thought he was
Seal?
Seal because he had a big
Oh my
scar
God.
on his face.
Black people look alike.
You hear that? Dennison, all black people look alike.
Yeah,
Lindsay, you
James
think
Brown,
that?
Little Richie? Oh man.
Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Check this out, guys. Here's James Brown, one of his classic interviews.
They call him the godfather of soul, Mr. Dynamite, and the hardest working man in showbiz. But very soon, he may be known as the defendant. Grammy-winning soul singer James Brown is about to embark on a South American tour, but it's this tour that prompted his latest brush with the
bow-legged.
law. Brown said that he and his wife had an argument because she wasn't going on the tour with him. Adrian Brown and South Carolina police say that in the argument, it resulted, as a matter of fact, in Brown assaulting his wife with a lead pipe and firing a gun at a car that she was in. These are charges that Brown denies. He was released yesterday on $15,000 bond. He joins us from Atlanta to discuss the charges, and we welcome you,
I
James
love
Brown.
this.
How did all of this trouble begin?
Living in America. Nothing wrong.
Nothing wrong at all. You're not in any difficulty, but you're out on bond.
No, I'm not.
Have all the charges been dropped?
Yeah, I'm out on love.
Well, are you out on love or out of love? Which is it?
Out on love. Alone from night to night. You
Oh my God.
Now, James, this isn't
Riz.
the first time you and your wife have had a problem. Are the two of you going to be able to work this out?
Let's talk about some music.
You want to talk about music and you want to talk about what happened?
No, it's all over.
Well, let's talk about your tour. When are you leaving?
We're leaving tomorrow.
And where are you going?
Rio de Janeiro and Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Now, your fans will have read all about this, James. Aren't you concerned about that?
No.
What did he just say?
That's
Is
I
he
told
speaking
you
in
already.
tongues?
Moochie.
What the hell is that? Lindsay, you're from LA area, right? You ever heard this show back in the day?
You're
Sonya Live.
talking gobbledygook.
I'm about 3 hours away from LA, so more country-ish.
So you're
So
alive.
I haven't, I don't really
looks
Los
familiar.
Angeles.
Before she was born, too, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't know.
You said this is 1973?
No, this is like 1990 or something.
Oh, well, it looked like he was wearing a 70s costume.
Yeah, he's got the butterfly collar. You know?
He's an aging hipster like Austin Powers. Yeah.
Yeah.
This from the
LA's
late
not my
80s or
territory.
90s. The interview is that's two different things we're looking at. Yeah.
About this, James, aren't you
He said Kalamuta Kurwa.
concerned about that?
No.
Speaking in
Nakita,
tongues.
I'm concerned because there's nothing wrong.
And what are you going to say to your fans when they ask you some questions about it?
Karen
I
show.
feel good.
Heavily.
Papa's got a brand new bag. It's a man's world.
I feel good.
Well, that's
Lindsay, these are all names of his songs that are famous. He's saying right now.
Papa's got a brand new bag. It's a man's world.
Well, that's the second time we've heard that in 2 days. That's very interesting. Now, don't leave us, James. You stay right there.
I'm
We
not
have
gonna leave.
more
I
that
wanna
we
do
have to
something.
talk about. Well, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be
Hello,
doing on
Ted.
this tour.
What's that?
Ted Turner.
What are you going to be
Ted.
doing on this tour?
I'm going to be
Where
doing
you-
Papa's got a brand new bag, living in America. Sex machine, get up off of that thing. I feel good. Jam.
Now, I understand that you
I'm
have
real.
already, James, I have to ask you one serious question here. I understand you already have started
Yeah,
divorce
you're gonna
proceedings.
answer
Does that mean that you're now
You want to answer? Yeah.
eligible?
Yes, I'm singing. I want to mingle.
You want to mingle.
Yeah.
Now, the women love you when you get out there. Why do you think that is?
What'd you say?
The women love you when you get out there.
Wow,
Yeah,
sex
lady.
machine.
Well,
That's
I'm
what I was about to
asking
say.
you.
Yeah.
Huh? Because
Why
I
do you
look
think
good.
that is?
I
You
look
look
good.
Smell good. I
Yes.
feel good.
And you sing good.
And make love good.
Riz.
Oh.
Oh.
Well, there we are. We don't have to ask anybody else. We got that from the source. There you are. Now, you're involved in publishing a gospel magazine. Tell us a little.
After all that, like he's probably on PCP or Coke or something.
Yeah,
or
I was
something.
just about to say he looks higher than a kite.
Yeah, yeah. But then he's like, but you publish a gospel magazine.
Now, you're involved in publishing a gospel magazine. Tell us a little bit about that.
The second coming.
The gospel according to Pablo Escobar.
It's out of Augusta, Georgia, the anchor. Joseph P. Young is the editor, and James Brown is one of the advisors. And we're doing a fantastic job. The second coming. It features on this week. I think we have the Pope and
the Pope.
I believe the Williams brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And next week we're gonna have
Safety
Reverend Al
guy.
Sharpton, I think, on the cover.
He's reading something or thinking about what he's pulling the memory back.
It's why he referred to himself in the third person. Because
James Brown.
He's like reciting the presser. You know,
I
they're
see.
like, "Hey James, when you go out there, you're gonna want to say this," but he's saying it,
Yeah.
exactly how he heard it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be doing a lot of good things, and hopefully we'll get Brother Ted Turner on the cover.
He owns the TV station.
Ted, where you at?
James, we want to thank you for being with us today
Wait a
and giving
minute,
us
I
an
just got
opportunity.
here.
Oh, is there something more you want to say that we haven't
I want to
covered?
say another thing.
Okay,
I
go
love
ahead.
You. I love America. I love everybody.
Well,
I feel good.
It sounds to me as though you're not troubled by any of this at all.
This is a man's world.
Thanks for reminding us of that. Every once in a while, we forget.
Get up
but
off
we've
of that
remembered again. James, good luck on your tour. Thanks for being with us. I guess we're going to hear lots more.
Hasta luego.
Okay, hasta luego.
Does anybody know who Jay Prince is? His
Jay
personality is just like Jay Prince. Yeah.
Jay Prince probably got it from him.
Yeah, maybe.
Isn't Jay Prince the one on no, that's JB Smooth. Jay Prince, he's been
Team
Saturday Night
Fatty.
Live.
Team Fatty.
Oh, Jay Prince. Are you talking about? Yeah, you're talking about the guy.
For president.
Yeah. He looks like Bobby Brown. Yeah,
on here on YouTube.
yeah, I know. To me, he looks like the singer
Oh.
Bobby Brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
He has his
Yeah, he's wild.
personality.
You think so?
I feel good. I look good. Yeah.
He's in the digital experience as a funny.
Yeah,
Jay
he was
Prince,
always
but-
wound up like that. He he was just a ball of fucking lightning. That guy.
Oh, James Brown, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a definitely
Little
a legend.
Richard too. Oh my God.
A Little Richard.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
full of so much energy. Like my God. His stage
Golly, Miss
show was
Molly.
incredible.
Right. Yeah, Little Richard's interesting because he's very flamboyant, right?
Yeah.
And he was saying that the reason why he's like that was because in the South, when he would go to these places, they didn't really want a masculine black man to be performing in some of these clubs. I mean, maybe they felt threatened or whatever. So he had to like kind of put this like very flamboyant feminine persona of wearing makeup and growing his hair long. This is what he's saying. What he would say, just to get in there so they would listen to him. And after a while, just became him, and he ended up being like gay because there was a point in his career, and like I think it was in the early '80s, where he tried to switch up and be more masculine and go to church, back to church, but it didn't last. But kind of sad the way he was talking about it.
Talking about how bitter he was because everybody stole his things, right?
That too, yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, Little Richard is I gotta show you guys Little Richard.
He's a fireball, that guy. Yeah.
With the help of some uppers.
Probably.
See, I thought all that sweat was scars on his face.
Nah, he's sweating. He's giving it his all.
Yeah, they put a lot into their performances. Yeah.
Here we go. In Arsenio Hall, there's no copyright with Arsenio, I don't think.
Oh, I think I've seen him.
You're way overdue. Yes. Way overdue. Yes. You know what he got this morning? He got his star on the Walk of Fame.
Did you know you have to pay for that?
You have to pay for that?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Really?
I'm surprised to find that.
But they have to offer it to you though, right? It's not like you can say, hey,
Yeah.
like I can't go. Can you do an NPC the game star? I'll pay for
Do you
it.
just like straight up pay for it? You know, I want my star, or do they offer?
I don't know.
Nominated probably.
The star has to come up and offer whatever, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000. I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
Or if they actually pursue you. I don't know which one it is.
Oh.
But
I would
does
assume
cost.
it's worth it if you're a celebrity, right?
Sure, it'd be cheap.
Yeah.
My first question to you is, what took him so long? That's what I've been wondering. I started to go over there and look at him. And you know, when I look at them, they don't know what to say. I started to go and ask them, what is it? What's wrong? Yes, I started to tell them. But you know, I think it was a bunch of old people that didn't know what was going on, never had it, can't get it, don't want to know where to find it.
$50,000.
And what they did, they just didn't put my vote
50,000?
in. But I got it now.
Damn.
That's today's prices.
The fee covers creation, installation, and maintenance on the star. But there's a $250 application fee in addition.
Okay.
250,000.
Wow.
It's
Damn,
$50,000
that's a quarter of a
for the
million.
star and a $250 application fee.
So it's like a quarter of a million.
Yeah.
About.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have to nominate yourself.
$250.
Dollars. Okay.
Quarter of 1,000, not a quarter of a million.
Oh, okay. Quarter of 1,000? Or
What are you
quarter?
talking? No, it was a quarter of a million.
Okay, $50,000 just for maintenance and installation, plus an additional $250 application fee.
Oh, okay.
Oh, $250.
Yeah, not million.
Okay, so you spend 250, see if you can get one. And
Right.
then
Right.
If you get one, then it's
I see.
50 grand.
okay.
And they have to vote on it.
It doesn't say
Something?
here. I'm just reading Google.
That's a good money scam, right? Every year, it gets thousands of people give their $250.
What about
right?
you apply and they're like, no, you're not famous enough. They just keep your 250.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there was also something. I don't know if you heard of this channel. It's called German in Venice. He's like this fanboy guy that lives in Venice, and he goes to he likes to follow celebrities and whatnot, tells stories. And he was. I remember last year he was on the Hollywood Walk of Fame part of it, and they were tearing it up. Like they're doing the jackhammers and tearing up all the old, And my thing is like, wouldn't you assume that they're gonna move it? Because they just can't. I don't think they would just destroy it, right? So yeah.
How much
they
does
were
it
like,
cost to, how much does it cost to maintain a little star?
It doesn't take that much, probably.
No.
$250 for a bottle of Comet.
A couple bucks,
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe somebody come by and blow bubble gum off it.
Yeah. Let me put this up real quick before we go back to Little Richard. And speaking of Jay Prince.
The proof of me putting hands. Last time I checked, I put dick on it.
What does that mean?
Unless you can show me otherwise. Me putting hands. Last time I checked, I put dick on a bitch. Unless you can show me otherwise. Show me that I put hands on a bitch outside of my dick.
Well, they're lying.
Be specific, right?
Very specific, yeah.
Charming.
He looks like what's Bobby Brown kind of. Yeah, but Little Richard's very flamboyant. And like Max was saying, he claims that they stole rock and roll from him. They, like Elvis and them, he invented rock and roll. He said
They can't take it back. Yeah.
They might be right. He might be right.
Might be right, exactly.
They like to give them to you after you die. Well, he was here, been here and gone, but he was good. But I'm still here, and I got it, and I had a chance to touch it.
And he is really old.
Yeah. Because you know what? And what makes it so good?
You say he's really old?
I cried. I had to cry.
He looks young, but he's really old here. He's like in his 70s.
And I knew
he's
somebody
dead.
should have voted on me in that length of time.
In this video.
I
he's
said,
like
what
in
did
his
I
70s.
do? Where did I go? What did I say?
He's like 50.
And so finally,
No.
they put me
How old
down
was he in the 90s?
in the ground. Not in the box.
he must
He
have
was
been
really
what,
old.
60 here, 70s, maybe even.
Yeah, he's
when
pretty
was he,
old,
when was he
man.
born? See, Little Richard. Born in 1932. Yeah.
1932.
Oh, I don't think he's
So we can say this is 1992.
Yeah. So 52? Okay.
He still doesn't look that good for 52, right?
Yeah.
60.
60.
60.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
plastic
pretty
surgery
good.
looks like or something.
And he's full of
Yeah,
energy.
a lot of makeup.
They are
So that
lucky they
could
did
be
because they don't
alcohol.
want you to come read.
You know.
Yeah.
He's wearing the shit.
No, they don't. Oh, they don't. They don't. Ooh. No, they don't, because I know how to do it. I give them 2 snaps and a broken wrist.
Yes. If Little Richard reads you, the library is open.
Ooh. Did you hear that? Did you? And that is the truth. Happened to me. See, they didn't want a black guy to be the one that created rock and roll because the white kids liked it. And they didn't want the white girl screaming over no black boy. And by me being a black guy and a good-looking black guy.
Yeah, but
And
they're
you
all
know I'm not
controlled by
conceited. No,
Tavistock.
I've never been.
What's up, Max?
They're all controlled by Tavistock.
Yeah, Tavistock Industry for sure.
Yeah.
They manufacture these things,
Oh,
like the
program.
Beatles,
Yeah.
Beatles, Grateful Dead, and America. I don't know if the Tavistock did them, but whatever's equivalent in America, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, mind control.
Yeah.
No, you know I don't believe in stuff like that. I hope
People.
don't nobody mistake me. I hope don't. I'm not.
What'd you say?
They twist these people over time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, bread and circus, man.
Yeah.
Type of stuff.
Y'all, I'm not conceited. I'm convinced.
Hi, Lindsay.
Let me ask you. Wait, let's find out. Wait now. Hey, let's find out what it is. It might be a Milli Vanilli song. Find out what you gonna do.
I do favor one of them.
Shut up. You're very outspoken. Is there anything that you're afraid of?
Yes, I am. Crazy people.
He seems kind of crazy.
Wait a minute.
It'd be fun to have a conversation.
Wait a minute, all of you, the pretty one and the ugly one, shut up.
Yeah, this one, look. This is the last interview right here of him. Yeah.
Well, he's known as the architect of rock and roll, a music icon who's entertained generations of people. Little Richard visited Southern Illinois today, and News 3's Colin Dorsey sat down with him for a rare interview.
It's his first television news interview in years. This music legend only sitting down to an interview with Danny Shelton of Three Angels Broadcast Network once before today. A rock and roll icon, he says those days are well behind him.
Well, back at the time, you were thinking about how you could become bigger and bigger and make more money.
He says it all became too much when he saw people idolizing him and flocking to his concerts.
At first, I was making $35,000 a night. Then it came to $50,000. Then it came to $100,000 an hour.
Richard Penniman,
Did he say $100,000 an hour?
Yeah.
Man.
Also known as rock and roll legend Little
7-Day Evangelist. That's hardcore Christian. Pretty serious. Yeah.
Richard says choosing between his fame and his faith was one of the best decisions he's ever made.
I didn't feel right anymore. I would sing and do things, but I wasn't
Do things, drugs, and fornicate.
a part of the in crowd anymore.
And he said he started getting concerned about his place in the world.
I started just thinking about Jesus. I started thinking about the world's going to end soon. All the trouble of the world.
It's a change 3ABN President Danny Shelton says is amazing.
The privilege of meeting numerous people, but the testimonies are almost always the same.
I made up my mind that I'd rather have Jesus.
Wow, look at that.
Than anything the world could afford today.
Shelton says though Little Richard stepped off the rock and roll stage, his impact is still felt around the world.
He influenced millions in his younger days. Now he influences millions for the cause of God.
Once uniting people around his music, he's now uniting people around his story. In Thompsonville, Colin.
Yeah, rest in peace, legend. For sure, Little Richard. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, guys. I'm about to bomb blue. Oh, I did it wrong. Okay. Max, do you got any thing coming up on your channel?
Nothing in particular, no.
Yeah. How about you, Dennison? More streams? Sure. She said sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, I got I don't think I'm gonna stream tomorrow, but definitely we'll be back at it on Monday, Eastern Wilderness North America time, Eastern, 6 a.m. Be back at it again with the daily astrology forecast. Yeah. But I appreciate you guys coming on. It's fun.
Thank you for having me up.
Yeah. Don't be a stranger. I'm glad you came back. Yeah.
We'll talk to you later. Thanks. Have a good night.
Thanks, Max. Have a good this is the question. Maybe this song will help you. Yeah, tomorrow's Sunday for you, right? Yeah. I got 4 weeks left though. Vacation. Summer vacation. Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Bye.